We will begin in 10 seconds, okay? You got any question, you can leave your questions here, all right? 今天的投影片我们都可以在酷课云都可以找得到哈 ，Everything is already there, so no worries about this, okay? 我会尽量讲多一点中文 I will try to speak more Chinese, even though I don't like to speak Chinese at all, okay? And Alex definitely goes in English, okay? All right. 那我们要开始咯，我们要开始讲指考的重点咯 ，OK? Are ready? So this is department required exam. 那我再提醒大家一遍，这是1到6册 ，Book 1 to Book 6 ，Book 1 to Book 6。那里面有哪些重点呢 ？Of course, it's similar to SAT, Scholastic Aptitude Test， 也就是我们的大学学测。那学测，因为我们是用的是旧课纲 ，Old Curriculum。是旧课纲，所以我们没有所谓的混合题型，我们的 integrated test items. We don't have that for our reading. 但是你们是用的是旧课纲 old curriculum， 所以我们会有一些固定的 test items for 指考 department required exam. So let's get started. OK， 那词汇题再提醒大家一遍 ，for vocabulary, I got something for you. 在指考呢，要提醒大家的一遍是。We focus more on content words. 我们强调的是所谓的实词，也就是 content words， 也就是1到6册的 content words. Pay attention to content words, OK? 那记住是1到6册 ，Book 1 to Book 6。然后记住是 words for production， 不要再读所谓的单字书 vocabulary book. Don't read them; they are not useful. But Book 1 to Book 6的单字 words for production, words for production， 把它看过一遍 ，words for production， 看过一遍 ，go over them and check whether you got any question。记住哦 ，it has a lot to do with meanings， 语义 meanings， it has a lot to do with collocation， 搭配字 collocation 搭配字 like word chunk。For example， 喜欢 we say take delight in, take delight in, or take pleasure in. This is what we call collocation. Or 捐钱, like what we said in the SAT, commit some money or donate some money to somebody or a charity. 这样的一个搭配字 this is what you need to double check. 要快速的在这40天 we only have 40 days left.Go over them. 但是 how do we deal with vocabulary immediately or very quickly? Okay, because we don't have enough time. 只有10题而已，但是里面要如何快速的 handle this? Okay, so let's take a look at this right here. Okay, so Alex, for you, how do you answer the first question? Can you tell us?
Hello everyone. Yes, I can go through some of the ideas and some skills that you guys can use in trying to solve your vocabulary questions and problems very quickly. And the first thing that Joe just mentioned is collocations. So collocations, I've just share a link. There are many resources you can use, but in the chat box, I've just shared a link that you can see. It's a way of using collocations if you're unsure of words that go with other words. Okay, so this is in your preparation when you guys are trying to learn vocabulary. You don't just memorize single words. You need to remember words and the words that they go together with. So this is one way to improve your collocations first. Okay, so I recommend that you use resources like the link that I've just shared into the text box. You can use this as a method. And there are many other resources, for example, Collocations dictionaries. So coming back to the first question, we have to think about several things. And talking about collocations, it's words that go together. And in this type of answer, we want to look at the question's space, but we don't just look at the space. We look at the words either side of the space. And we need to think in this type of sentence, you see there are 3 clauses. Right, so the clauses, what's a clause? It's a part of the sentence. Joe, what's a clause?
Clause 就是原因的意思。Yeah.
Clause clause. No, C-L-A-U-S-E. Clause, yeah. So the clause in the sentence is that it has 3 parts, and we want to look at the parts, and we want to think about the meaning within each. Okay, so in this first one, according to government regulations, so it's something to do with regulations, rules, and if employees are unable to work because of a serious illness, so they're sick, they are. Now, if we talk about a regulation, a rule, and employees are sick, do you think that they're going to have something positive or something negative? One way to approach this is through, you can cancel out or you can get rid of some of the answers that you think are unsuitable directly. Like, for example, intimidated. Is that a positive or a negative meaning? We know it's a negative meaning, so we immediately can cross that out. We can remove that as a choice. So it leaves us with 3, right? So using the positive, negative part, we've got rid of the negative ones. So they are. Now, we know the form of the word is, in this case, the possibility is that you're allowed to do something. So you're allowed to do something. They are allowed because the regulations, the rules, allowed to do something. So which word is allowed? And only one of them obviously has the meaning. That's entitled, which matches the meaning. Joe is just writing this as notes there. So entitled in this means actually similar to allowed. So one way of doing it is approaching through synonyms. Synonyms are the words that have a similar meaning, right? Synonyms are, for example, in this case, they are allowed to is the same meaning as they are entitled to. So for questions where you're able to identify the language based on the similar meaning, if you put another word that has a synonym, right, that's one way to match for this first question. So entitled to, and if we use the noun entitlement, that's something that they are given. Okay, so in the next one,
yeah, that's right.
Yep.
So Alex, I need to explain. So here, 所以这边可以看到的是，Alex 带着我们去看的是上下文的语义，而且这边有一个因果关系。So that's why Joe just said cause and effects, right? 就讲了因果关系 ，cause and effect。那当然，这个 cause and effect 是来自于前面的一个，假如这件事情的发生。那这个因果关系导致了他们有这个资格，那当然哪个跟允许或者是有资格，那当然就是 allowed、qualified or entitled。那像 intimidated 只是被吓到 ，that is definitely not okay。所以有没有注意到 Alex 老师刚刚有带着大家讲了一个重点，就是说你要用所谓的 synonym 同义词 ，synonym 同义词，记住在单字题要透过 synonym。or antonym 反义词 antonym 反义词 or example 例子 example 例子 example 例子 or definition 定义 definition 定义 definition 定义 OK we use definition OK 然后我们就可以来处理这些东西，我们可以从这个上下文来讲这些东西 ，define or definition， 大家可以理解吗？哈，所以我们这边可以用 definition、example、antonym、synonym， 所以这个在所谓的词汇题是很重要的这4个概念，通常这样的 context 上下文才会非常的重要。But Alex, some of our students got some questions about the last one. 那最后一个呢是105年的一个指考的考题。那这个考题呢里面常常是 causing some confusion。我们来看一下这一题，那它常常有的问题是在哪里呢？好，注意哦。
The third question, sure. The third question.
The third one. Can you help us with this? 第3题呢就是我们这个搭配字，可是这个搭配字呢是我们指考非常爱出现，因为它要评量出是否你们有足够的能力。So they use double meaning 双重意义 ，double meaning 双重意义。那像这边有一个 double meaning 是双重的意义 ，double meaning。那这个 double meaning 不是 irritate。irritate What does that mean? 来，各位写下来。What does irritate mean? Can you respond to me? Irritate in high school. What does that mean in Chinese? 在你们的 chat box, can you tell me what does irritate mean in high school? Yeah. Somebody
Annoy,
said that.
That's right.
Annoy. You have other answers? Annoy or anger. Make some people angry. 让很多人生气，对不对？但这里 Alex, what does that mean here?
In the sense that it's to do with well, actually, it's a double meaning, but it's a very similar meaning as well, because irritate your stomach means that it makes your stomach feel uncomfortable. It's like making your stomach feel annoyed. In that sense, that you can actually match a meaning like this, right? So irritate, of course, is, we said the negative and positive before. So of the two answers, we have A and C, two negative, because the doctor says warn. And that's the point, isn't it? Because it tells us to warn someone is to say something bad could happen. I have to stay away from it in the third clause. You can see, sorry, the second clause at the end. It says that I'd better stay away from it. So it's telling you you need to get from something negative, away from something negative. And so irritate is negative, as is kidnap. But kidnap, of course, is totally unrelated here. So we cross that out from its meaning that doesn't match. But the term irritate is to make you feel uncomfortable, is to cause discomfort. And the key word is spicy, right? Spicy food will do something. It will have an effect on your stomach. So what is it that cause and effect we talked about earlier? Cause and effect is it causes, so it is the spicy food, causes your stomach to be irritated. So even though it has a different meaning to what we usually think of annoy, there is still a connection, isn't there? Because there's still a negative meaning, and it still makes it uncomfortable, or it still makes it annoyed in the sense that it irritates, is discomfort.
所以不要忘了这边的强调的上下文，不要忘了 we call that lexical cohesion， 也就是单字是连贯的，单字是连贯的。So don't forget， 对于大家要准备指考，不是背很多单字就有用，你要看上下文的连贯性。It's about warning， 而且是负面的 negative meaning。所以你有没有看 warm、spicy？ 所以 I had better stay away from it。那 Alex 老师刚刚已经讲了 ，irritate means discomfort， 让你不舒服。那不会选择的是 D，override。override means what？ overthrow， 去推翻某个人的意见 ，object 的意思。那当时大考很多人都选 override，because you don't know this。不要过度诠释，让肚子不舒服 irritate my stomach， 让我不舒服 irritate me。Got it？ So it's not that difficult. It's not that difficult. 所以再提醒大家一遍，你可以看到 Alex 老师是怎么推敲的，从 warm、spicy， 然后要 stay away from， 那当然是哪个让你不舒服呢？绝对会是 irritate。刚刚 Alex 老师用的叫做 lexical cohesion 的概念，也就是说一个句子的上下文是有一个连贯性的。So don't forget， 你背再多单字都没有用。Why? Because 像今年的指考题出了很多的问题是你们常常会犯错的 ，like commit， 很多人都只背到投入。那当然 ，of course it's double meaning, right？ 那就是 commit some money to the charity。那很多人就不会啦 ，because in high school when it comes to donations 捐钱，我们只想到的是 contribute and also donate。但没有人想到 commit 也有这样的一个意义，代表投入，把这个钱捐出来的意思。So that's why 很多人学测这一题是错的。Got it? So I hope you can. Yeah. 小珍 ，What's your question? Would you like to ask? 小珍 you raised your hand. Do you want to? Yeah, go ahead.
不小心按到。
Okay. Yeah. Would you like to? What's your question?
This is an accident. She said accidentally.
Oh, accidentally raised the hand. That's okay. No worries. 好，如果你有问题，你可以直接问哦。No worries about this. In Chinese, in English, no problem. 你不用讲英文没有关系。No worries about this. Okay. Now let's move on to the next one. 因为单字题其实只有10分而已。Not so, you know. Important for me, okay? 但是我想问大家 ，when it comes to vocabulary 单字题，你们有没有一些问题 ？Please leave your message in the chat box, okay? 请把你的疑问放在我们的 chat box 里面。我给大家稍微想一下30秒 ，30 seconds. What are your questions about vocabulary? 单字题通常你会有什么最大的问题呢？今天我们会强调的。不会是单字题跟 close 字，我们强调的会是篇章 discourse and also 指考的 英文作文，特别是图表作文，因为 Alex 老师特别加强的会是所谓的图表作文 （graph writing）。OK， 我们在等大家，你的问题可以在这边发问。You can ask questions here. Remember, you can ask your question here. 你可以在这边问问题。
There we go. We have one question.
PJ Chen 说 ，Should we just? Joe suggested we don't have to use vocabulary book, but isn't it fast to learn about synonyms through vocabulary book? 是啊，但是单字书通常是快速最快。可是如果你没有上下文，你只透过中文意义 Chinese meaning， 你就来背单字，然后你就会犯错。为什么这次的学测很多人单字题都没有拿高分 ？Because 你们看太多的单字书了，因为单字书只有中文 ，only Chinese meaning，OK？ 那所以这就是你们最常错的地方。那跳跳 has a question. What is the quickest way to learn about collocation? 好，我先讲。
Actually, the most effective way is by reading more English. That's the most effective way. Listening to more English and reading more English. Because when you read more English and listen to English, you see the words, how they're used in the original context and how they're collocated together. That's the most effective way. So yes, you do have to use the books 1 to 6 and you have to read through those. They give examples of it as well. Right, Joe?
Yeah, that's right. 我的建议是把课本有人问问题了哈，问了是来我们来一起来看这个问题。I think this is a good question right here. 有人问的是读第1册到第6册的单字 ，Book 1 to Book 6。那7000字怎么办 ？Because the word limit for us is 7,000 words. 我再讲一遍。大考不会考7000字。Let me say that again one more time. 大考不会考7000字。For the department required exam, 特别是在单字题不会考7000字。Joe， 你怎么那么敢讲这些字？这些字都不是7000字。所以 Book 1 到 Book 6的 Words for Production 才是最重要的，因为它是 Level 1 to Level 5。Level 1到 Level 5大概是多少呢？大概是5000字左右。那什么叫做7000字呢 ？For example, mask, M-O-S-K, mask， 也就是我们的 ，Let me show you， 清真寺 ，mask right here.
M-O-S-Q-U-E.
That's right. It's right here. M-A-S-Q-U. It's look at my picture. Here, mask. Do you have to memorize this word? It's in 7,000 words. 这是我们7000字里面的，可是要背吗？不用背，因为这些7000字有些字，特别是 Level 6的单字，只需要透过上下文去阅读，就可以推敲意思了。You can infer the meaning from the context. 所以你们都会被骗，都说要背7000字，7000字 ，That's wrong。其实只要 Book 1, Book 2, Book 3, Book 4, Book 5, Book 6里面的 Level 1到 Level 6就可以了。背越多越没有意义 ，Don't waste your time. Alex just mentioned, the more you read, the better. 快速阅读。老师在讲一个重点，当你在阅读单字的时候 ，For example, Cambridge Dictionary， 举例来说哈。我们课本不是有家句吗 ？We got the sample sentences, right? 家句 ，For example, pleasure like this. 很多人说怎么读，怎么找搭配字呢 ？Pleasure, OK? 我们课本不是有很多家句吗？那个家句 take pleasure in, give blah 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 pleasure. It was such a pleasure. It's in our textbook. 课本都有这样的一个家句。Can you go over them? 不是只是背单字 ，You need to go over those sample sentences. 把家句看过一遍 ，and you will find the word chunk. 你就可以看到搭配字了。OK? Eric is OK? Eric is OK? 那还有一个人问的问题是，单字太多背了又忘怎么办 ？Alex, would you like to say something first?
Well, of course. You're not just memorizing the words. That's the point, isn't it? You're not just memorizing single words, because if you try to memorize the word If you just try and remember the word on its own, yes, you'll forget it because you don't have any reason to use it. It's like if you were told, can you please remember 7,000 different numbers? Would you remember them? No, you wouldn't, because you don't have a reason to remember them. When you're learning vocabulary, when you're learning words, what you need to do is you learn them in the context, and that's by learning them, by practicing them and using them. So as I recommended before, reading more and listening to more English is the best way to learn the language naturally, but you also need to use it. You need to write out some example sentences of your own. Write out the example sentences that they give that have the collocation as well. You can use this as a method to help you, a way to help you. You will remember them if you use them. If you don't use them, you will forget a lot of them. Okay, so don't just remember the words on their own. Use the words as much as you can. Write sentences, say sentences, practice using them.
那如果有人要提升词汇量的话 ，Alex just mentioned use sentences, write sentences where in your composition， 在你的作文里面就要用到了。你的作文有没有用到这些单字？还是都是国中的单字 ？OK， 然后博宏，我先回答这个问题：怎么在短时间提升词汇量 ？Reading， 还有第一册到第六册的 words for production。Let me write that down again. Let me write that down again. Let me write that down again.Words for production, not words for recognition. Words for production. Words for production. Go over them. Words for production again. And then sample sentences. Example sentences. Sorry. Example sentences and sample sentences. Okay. 这些加句 for and also reading and also reading.And writing articles, writing sentences, and also the past exam， 还有考古题的单字要快速都看过一遍，考古题的单字要快速看过一遍。OK， words for production 后面记住哦 ，words for recognition you don't need that. We don't need words for recognition. 后面的 words for recognition we don't need that.后面这个不需要了哈 ，only words for production 这些东西是你可以拿来复习的。你看的越多的单字书 ，it's not useful at all， 完全都没有用。OK，so double check。再提醒大家一遍 ，words for production, example sentences, reading, writing sentences, and then the past exams。那有人在问我说，在里面问我说 ，which one is better for our review？If we want to, improve our English very quickly, which one is better? Or which one works better? Okay. Grammar or vocabulary? 那我会告訴你 vocabulary. 因為 grammar 等一下我會告訴你，大考、學測、指考幾題文法題3題哦。你教的你所學的所有的 inversion 倒裝句分裂句都不會考 ，they are not exam， 因為大考考的叫做 high frequency grammar， 等一下我會幫大家整理 ，so don't worry about it， 請不要緊張，你們越緊張越考不好 ，please， 你們現在要訓練的是時間而已 ，OK，practice by using English。Okay, practice by reading English, practice by speaking English, practice by writing in English. 把这些单字用在你的作文里面、口说里面、造句里面 ，maybe that'll be better. 那单字怎么背？就是背这几个重点就好了，其他的不要再背了。Don't waste your time. OK， 博宏 ，Thank you. 拜托，真的不要再浪费时间，不要再背那个7000字了，里面好多字都不会考 ，never exist. 相信 Joe, trust me. I'm the one you can trust. I'm God. OK。Now let's move on. 我们要到下一个咯哈 Let's move on. Now this is about cloze exercises. 这就是综合测验。那综合测验呢？等一下我会告诉大家，综合测验通常出现的考题，而大考、指考也只有10题而已 ，only 10 test items， 只有出10题而已。那他们通常会出现的是什么呢？来帮大家再提点一遍。Number one， 它会出现的会是。OK， 这边 Number one， 上下文要注意哦 ，context， 记住你的 context， 你有没有注意上下文 context？ 上下文有没有理解 ？Number two 有没有掌握词汇量 ？OK， 词汇量 like vocab like 实词 content words nouns 名词 adjective 形容词 adverbs 副词 verbs and function word 虚词 like it that there and pronoun 代名词，大考一直考这个哦。OK， don't forget it, that, pronouns 一直出现。When do we use them？ 虚词。When do we use it？ 什么时候用 it？ Referencing 提及上下的前面的那个东西。OK，cataphora, anaphora 或后面的那个东西的时候 ，we use it 跟 that， 还有 there 跟 pronoun or the former 前者 and the latter 后者，你们都会了吗？这个都是指考出现过的，还有学测 ，Do you remember？ And idioms and phrases， 还有片语、惯用语，不要读迪克森片语，不要再看补习班的那些片语了 ，they are useless. For idioms and phrases, don't forget. 惯用语，请把第1册到第6册的 idioms and phrases 看过一遍 ，because for your textbook， 因为课本是国立编译馆编列的，他们的重点都会帮你列出来 ，OK？ 那所以这个就是 idioms and phrases。那学测只考的片语也看过一遍 ，that will work。不要再背更多的片语了 ，OK？They are not useless at all。And also 转折词 transition words。好，来考大家 ，What transition words may appear in close exercises？ 我考大家哦 ，Leave your message in the chat box。请在那个 chat box 里面帮我讲，给我一些提示 for transition words。Now, if you want to offer additional information， 如果你要提供额外的讯息 ，What are the transition words you can use？I will give you one junior high transition word. That is besides. Give me a lot of words that are related to besides. Go. 请帮我打出来。哪些字也代表 besides 的意思 for additional information? Good. The more the merrier. 可以再多写写吗 ？According to what you remember. 请帮我打。加容 not however. However means the opposite. 相反的意思。I want additional information. That's right.
However is contrast.
That's right. 成品语 no, nonetheless, it's also for a contrast, okay? So in addition, furthermore, moreover, on top of that, 但 on top of that 太口语了 not in the test.
Yet,
亮 yet, no. Yet 也是
That's not correct.
也是 nonetheless, 然而的意思，也是相反的意思哈。Aside from, apart from, very good. 还有一个指考 for additionally, what is that? It's very simple. That is, everyone, we always use another one. That is, additionally. A-D-D-I-T-I-O-N-A-L-L-Y. Additionally. That is also what is common in the DRE. 指考最爱考的就是 additionally. Okay? 那 for cause and effect, 那因果关系呢 for cause and effect, what transition words will you use? What transition words will you use for cause and effect? 因果关系，因此 let me give you one. Okay, 郑凯 you said that. Good. More. Thus, very good. Burst strike, you're right. Thus. Can you give me more? 你们讲的越多，我才可以帮你哈。降龙18掌 stem from, result from, but stem from is a verb, not transition word, okay? 子阳 it follows that. Rui account for is the verb. 我要 transition word 转折词 okay? Accordingly, very good. Okay? Now, for cause and effect, in DRE 在指考 usually you see thereby. Okay? Accordingly. consequently. As a consequence. They are very common because they are DRE. 因为是指考要把程度分出来 we need to tell the differences between high achievers, intermediate achievers, and low achievers. So can we use accordingly to make a sentence? Alex, can you help me? Accordingly. Can you help me combine two sentences with accordingly? Okay?
Is there an example in the test questions? Is there one where we use that?
Yes, I want you to use accordingly to make sentences. Can you help us?
Yep, sure. So accordingly, as Joe said, we'll be joining two together. So we use it in a way that we connect sentences and say something in the way that connects something from the first to the second. So if we use accordingly, it can be used, actually it can be used at the end of the sentence as well.
That's
so
right.
It can be used to join two, like Joe said. But if you want to use it at the end of the sentence, you'll see it used sometimes at the end of the sentence. And at the end of the sentence, it will be where there's instructions to do something or there's steps or rules, like we saw earlier with regulations. And they said that if the regulations say you must act one way, then you must act accordingly. So act one way and act accordingly is the same meaning here. It's connecting what the first part said. So it can be a transition signal, but it can also be within one sentence. Mm-hmm. So if the regulations or if the rules state you must do this, then you must act accordingly. In that case, right. It's used in a way that's saying it connects to the regulations. And it means according to the regulations. So accordingly, it can be used at the end of the sentence as well.
Sure. Yeah, but it can also be used in the cause and effect as well. OK， 所以这个还是希望大家要学会哈。Accordingly 可以放句尾，也可以放句中，也可以放句首。Don't forget at the beginning of the sentence.
And if you want to use it as an adverb at the beginning of the sentence as a transition signal, then we'll say, for example, if we talk about the results of a study. Let's say that there's survey or data. So the data or the survey shows that most students don't like to memorize vocabulary. Mm-hmm. And then it would say, accordingly, teachers recommend that they use English more often in order to learn words. So it means
everyone, yeah,
the connection
so
is the first part.
So Alex just said, most people don't like to memorize vocabulary. 你们都不喜欢背单字嘛 right? So teachers recommend, accordingly, teachers recommend. 有没有看到那个因果关系 ？Accordingly, teachers recommend blah blah blah. Don't forget, this is 因果关系。你们都在死背单词哦，记住 ，English is not about memorization, rote memory. 你们为什么很多人会考不好、指考或学测，都是因为你们只死背单字。You don't pay attention to the connections between two sentences or two paragraphs or two ideas。这个就是英文的逻辑 logic。所以很多人的作文也写不好，你的阅读读不好，你的作文就会写不好。Don't forget, and your speaking will not be good as well, not be fluent as well。好，那我们最后再考一个最长 ，OK？ 那句尾的话，那你就可以放后面啊 ，teachers blah 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 accordingly 就逗点 accordingly 放句尾就可以啦 ，OK？ Now can we have one more? Sorry, can we have one more? We got contrast. Can we have the contrast? 现在可不可以请大家给我一些 transition words 转折词 for contrast? Can you give me some transition words for contrast or the opposite? 不要 additional information, not cause and effect. I want the opposite, 相反的。Can you give me? Let me give you one. However. 好，但是 however 很不常考哦。However is not important any longer because it's so common. Yes. Yes. On the other hand, good. Conversely, in contrast, not with understanding. Okay. While, good. While, thence. Nonetheless, yet. 玉娟 yet. Yeah, despite the fact that blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you can see right here. I will show you something that is more common. It's in contrast. Nonetheless. Okay. On the contrary. So, and also the last one right here. On the other hand, on the one hand, on the other hand. Blah, blah, blah. On the other hand. Can you help me write down, everyone? 可以帮我写下来吗，同学们? Thank you. Can you help me write down? Because later on, I won't talk about them, but they are super important in your writing and also in your speaking and also in your reading as well. Alex, can you tell us how to use them?
Yeah, sure. So in the contrast, like, for example, nonetheless, I think lots of students are confused because it has 3 words that you know, none, the, less, but the meaning itself is contrast. So if you're going to use it, let's take the example right now where the government says you should not go out if you can to stop spreading the virus. Nonetheless, many people still go outside every day as though nothing has changed.
So 注意听哦 Alex 老师说 the government says you cannot go out. People cannot go out. Nonetheless, a lot of people still do. 有没有注意到我把那个句子简单一点 so you can get it. Okay? So can we use in contrast here?
In contrast, no, it's not really used in this way because it's not the same use. In
That's
contrast
right.
is, yeah. Okay, you can explain.
Do you know why I asked this question? 为什么我会问？很多人同学会把 in contrast 跟 nonetheless 放在一起，但是 in contrast and nonetheless 是不一样的。Okay, how do we use in contrast?
So, in contrast is used very often with them in the middle of the sentence. So, where you're contrasting 2 different things. So it could be 2 expected results. So let's say we say for test scores, if we're talking about someone has managed to get a score that's not what they expected, and you would say that if some of the students got very high scores, in contrast, most of the students got low scores. So it's talking about something that doesn't match in this case. It's a different type because it is still contrast, but it's not where you're contradicting another thing that's happened.
So did you see what I wrote in Chinese? 大家应该都懂中文吧 so you don't have to understand this. Okay.
Yeah.
And then this one for DRE 只考最常考的还有后面这两个 though and on the other hand, can you teach us how to use though to mean nonetheless or to mean the opposite, fact?
Yeah, so though and though with even though and although, they all are the same. So if you
but at the end of the sentence, I don't agree though. That kind of though.
Yeah, so though is usually used on the end of the sentence in informal speech. So if you're talking about discussing something where I insist, no, you should memorize vocabulary by learning, by listening, and by reading. And you say, but I don't like reading though. You can use it together with another transition signal, like but or however. It can use to emphasize or strengthen the meaning of that contrasting transition signal.
So
it's used on the front.
Nonetheless, it's more similar to though. 再提醒一遍，为什么我会特别讲这几个字？因为这就是只考出现过的。If you pay attention, you will double check. 好，这个 though 是出现过，学测都出现过的。Okay, and the last one will be on the other hand, because lots of them somehow has problems using on the other hand. They think on the other hand means in contrast or on the contrary. So how can we use it in the right way? Can you teach us?
On the other hand is often where we have used together, but not always, with on the one hand. So hang on, just finish typing this example sentence here.
Okay, I will type
on the end of a sentence. So just type it into the chat box here. And So if we use on the one hand, and in the first sentence, you may be making a comparison. So this is a comparison. Remember, the comparison can be two similar things, but it can also be two different things. Okay, so on the other hand is usually to talk about if you have one option, like you could say, one option is we can go to the beach. On the one hand, it would be nice to get outside and enjoy the lovely weather. On the other hand, the government has said we should stay home. So it can be when you're comparing the pros and the cons, or the negatives and the positives. On the other hand, can be used to compare those two. So it's a type of comparison, which is also called contrast, because contrast is for the negatives. So comparing one with the other.
但是我帮 Alex 再补充一下 ，on the one hand, on the other hand 都是同一只手哦，都是同一个人的手哦。On the one hand, on the other hand， 所以是同一件事情哦。都是同一个人做的事情哦。So don't forget, in contrast, sometimes two different things. 但 on the one hand, on the other hand, 通常指的是 the same person or the same event， 但是有两种不同的想法跟概念。Okay, so don't forget， 这个要再提醒大家一遍。Okay, somebody raises the hand. Does anyone wants to ask questions? You can leave your question in the chat box. Okay， 那我们来看一下这边。In the closed exercises here， 在 close 综合测验只有10题，这些都是10题，也就只有10分而已哈。So please， 只有10分的话，那我们该如何看一下这样的一个评量呢 ？So let's take a look at this together。那 no problem, Eric, it's okay, no problem with that. Let's double check. 16 is vocabulary， 是单字题。17 grammar 文法题。Would pile, had piled, was piling, might have piled. 18, also vocabulary and also collocation. 18 就是我们的搭配字 ，OK？ 搭配字的用法 ，OK？ Unattended dishes of germs, blah blah blah. And also idioms and phrases 丢掉 toss out, okay? The last one is also a little bit like you know, the word meaning 也是字义，单单的机会。好 ，This is last year's DRE， 这是去年的指考。来，注意看。
I can explain a little bit there, Joe. Just
yeah, no problem. Go ahead.
To what you said. So in the first one, as Joe said, it's the use of vocabulary. However, the important part is, like we said before, look both sides of the space. Don't just focus on the space itself. Think about the context leading. This is pronoun, right? This, pronoun. Remember we said before, pronouns, the words like this, that, and these, and so on. So in question 16 there, you see that this, it has to be referring. Referring means talking about something in the previous sentence. Okay, so you need to read the first sentence of that paragraph, the second paragraph, in order to identify the meaning that you need for 16. Okay, so Fleming had long been known for having an untidy laboratory. One morning in 1928, this, now you can actually leave out the word, proved very fortunate. So that means the meaning is from the sentence. What is the main meaning from the first sentence? And that is untidy laboratory. So what is the thing is it's untidy. So what word matches untidy, right? And we know disorder, right? Because order and dis makes it the opposite. So it is a negative word. The prefix or prefix is the beginning of the word, right? You know, order as a noun, it can be as a verb as well. It means to arrange the order, right? So prefix is the front of the word, and that can be a clue in this answer because we're looking for the untidy, something negative. Now in 17, Joe mentioned that it's a grammar question. Okay, so before the vacation, when we have two things we talk about in the past and we want to talk about the first action in past, we use the past perfect. Right, so the past perfect out of the choices, right? Which choice is it? The past perfect is the choice we want because it's explaining that the two actions in time, the first action is the one we use had with the past participle. Everyone, I'm sure you're familiar with the term that people say PP, right? But past participle. So past perfect is the tense, okay? And
okay, so
the
sorry.
past participle.
Yeah. Alex, let me jump in first, very quickly. 所以我们刚刚看到了这个单字题又是连贯的意思，也就是词汇有没有连贯 ？Alex just mentioned 很脏的实验室，所以接下来就很脏的。所以有没有注意到 untidy 里面都是 untidy， 然后接下来后面其实如果 if you read on 后面都是脏的意思哦。譬如说 germ 有细菌，然后这个又那个碗盘又没有清理。又是什么 unattended 或者是 contaminated 都是污染，那当然都是脏的意思 untidy。所以当然哪个跟混乱脏是有关系啊 ？Disorder because disorder means mess, M-E-S-S. It was messy, got it? 所以这叫做 lexical cohesion。我知道很多的老师并没有教这个，就是整篇文章它是有词义的连贯。当然 ，Alex 老师说你可以用字首字根来背，这是没问题的。但是这边要透过的理解是要用 lexical cohesion， 词汇连贯，整篇都在讲很脏 ，very very messy, very chaotic, very untidy, not clean. 那 That's right. 那当然，另外一个重点 ，Alex 老师讲的就是这个 grammar。那这 grammar 等一下我们会帮大家整理只考最常考的 grammar， 不用担心，只有4到5种 grammar，which is important。Okay, listen carefully. 好，只有40天，要注意听哈，不要再背一些无用的文法了哈。那这边是讲的是过去完成式，比 vacation 还要之前，所以当然是那 vacation。The whole reading is in the past tense. 整篇文章都在讲过去式，那发生的比过去还提早发生 ，past perfect tense 就是过去完成式了。Okay, Alex, continue on.
Yeah, so the tense is another important factor in question 18 because for question 18 you see it says he was sorting through the long. Now, of course, here long is sorry, I think someone's got the microphone on. Someone said here it says the long. Now, long here is not an adjective like you usually use it. It's an adverb, right? So it's an adverb used with the past participle. That's the past form of the verb to make an adjective. So long something. Now, the dishes were left there for a long time. The dishes had been in the sink, right? The petri dishes, the previous sentence, it says a number of petri dishes had been growing. So before the bacteria. So what we're talking about is the long here means it hasn't happened for a long time. So you go back to the sentence in the previous sentence where question 17's answer is, it says before the vacation. So what happened was the dishes were put there. So did he touch the dishes? Did he do anything to the dishes? No, he did not, right? So for a long time, he did not touch them. He did not use them. So unattended. Attend here means attend to, which means to use or to, in this case, it means for his science research, right? Because a petri dish is where they're growing the bacteria. So long means as an adverb here, it must be with an adjective. So something that was not dealt with, not used, attended. And then for question 19, because this is the need for a phrasal verb. I'm sure you guys all know the use of phrasal verbs. And this is to match with something that is in the previous part of the sentence that comes before. It says, observe that some of the dishes were contaminated. Contaminated is
污染
polluted, right? They destroyed the experiment because it says ruined his experiment. So it ruined his experiment. And what are you going to do with the dishes? So he was about to means he nearly. What would you do to something that's destroyed, something that's broken? You're going to throw it out. So here, even if you don't know toss out, the phrasal verb, you can get from the preposition is the same as throw out. You know, throw out or take out the trash. I'm sure you're familiar with these phrasal verbs and the collocations. Throw out the garbage, take out the trash. Toss out is the same. Okay, so it's another way to...
别忘了用 out. Alex 老师说，如果你忘了 toss, 那你用 out, take out, okay? Kick out.
Toss out.
That's
take
right.
out,
Okay.
throw out.
Throw out or cast out, so on and so forth. Remember? 好，那这些都是一个重点。那当然 catch up, carry on, they are not related to tossing out. Okay?
Yeah.
Continue
and just
on.
the last one for 20, and we have, as we talked about before, the transition signal. Now here, it's used with however. The however is the transition signal. So the transition signal, you notice, is not on the front of the sentence. It's used after, in the middle of the clause. It says chance something, however, may not be enough. So may not be enough. That's the key to this answer, isn't it? Because it means they need more. So what's the opposite to more? Opposite. Why is it opposite? Because of however. However is the transition signal. So what's the opposite to, in this case, more is on its own. May not be enough, they need more. So alone, right? Alone means just one thing. Just chance is not enough. Just. We want the word because it's the opposite to, and it's explaining that won't be enough. So chance alone. Alone means only or just chance. Okay, so again, it's related to the transition signal, in this case, that appears inside the first part of the sentence, but it doesn't come on the front of the sentence because you're contrasting chance that doesn't make it enough.
所以单单机运是不可能足够的 ，so may not be enough 就可以让你选择答案是 alone， 因为 may not be enough 不够嘛，对不对？不够嘛，所以需要别的嘛。那单单一个 ，so chance alone，so that's why，got it？ 所以你要记住这几个重点都是你要注意的。那 idioms and phrases don't forget go to your textbook. Okay, go to your textbook, phrases and idioms. But here's the question here. 这边就是我要帮大家做整理的。When it comes to grammar, 文法，这里有几个重点 idioms and phrases. I want you to double check this. Number one, that, which, what, where, when, the so-called relative pronouns, relative adverb, 关系代名词这些，关系副词这些 ，Did you understand them? 都知道怎么使用了吗？ Number two, tense, present perfect tense, 现在完成式 had, past perfect tense, 都知道怎么使用了吗？ Number three, Alex 老师讲的 it 或者是 that, it or that, 像那个 that, 譬如说 the watch is better than that, blah blah blah. 相对比两个同样的东西 we use that. 那如果是复数 we use those. Do you try to understand these? 有想办法了解了吗？ And conjunctions 连接词的选择 unless, because, since, so on and so forth. 或介系词 prepositions. 有一年只考 in, on, at, which, by. Do you understand them? 都知道那些的差别了吗？那一次考的是 at this. 一看到 at this. That means at the sound of this. At the thought of this. 一想到，一看到 at the sight of this. 那个 at. Do you understand? 还有最后一个是大考最爱出现的，每一年指考都会出现一题的 ing and ed 分词构句。So here, Alex, can you help us with this right here? ing, everyone knows it's active, 主动. And this one, ed means passive, 被动. However, can you tell us, what about the first one right here? 那这一句是什么? What is your answer for this one? The verb is prefer. Can we do the first one? Because it comes from one of our DRE, questions as well.
Yeah, so it's something because you prefer it, so you own it, you possess it, right? It's not the active form. It's not something that you are doing currently. It's something that you possess. So your preferred distance or their preferred distance, right? It means to say that they already have this. They possess that, right?
That's right.
And so it belongs to them in ownership in this case.
所以我们要用的是被动，保持他们的 preferred distance. But what about this one? Let me erase them. Otherwise, some people may not know this carefully. Okay? Can you help me read this? 19题是只考104年过最多的哦。Okay, go ahead.
Road running often offers those. Now here, it's actually the sentence has been reduced. So the clause would be a relative clause. It would be
形容词子句的缩减。
Those who are involved. And that means who are involved in a range. So those who are involved in the road running. So those who are involved, so road running often offers those involved a range of challenges. Those means those people who are involved. So this is an abbreviated form because it's actually using the passive voice, those who are involved, right? Those who are involved. And a range of challenges dealing with hills, sharp bends, rough. So sometimes you'll see that the use of the pronoun, it means, in this case, those, it actually means that part of the sentence has been reduced, right? And so this is the use, those who are involved in something.
But
And
why
that means
can't we use,
participating.
yeah, be careful, involved. Road running offers those involved a challenge. Road running offers those involved. Why do we use ed here? Okay, ed 的意思就是代表 those people involved, 那些加入 who are involved in road running. 那如果你用的 ing 的意思的话，那代表 road running 会提供那些什么 involving 那些就会指的就是后面的这些 challenges。可是根据上下文 I don't think that's correct, right? 所以记住，这个你要提的是参加的这群人，还是后面跟这个活动有关？如果是主动的话，我们就会用 ing； 被动我们就用的是 ed。Got it? I don't want you to get confused about this. 但是这些都是指考最常出现的 ，so I want you to be very careful about this. OK? 好 ，so far so good. 目前为止，我们请大家帮我造一个句子 ，Would that be okay? Help me make one sentence. 请帮我造一个句子，I want you to use ed or ving, ed or ving, OK? 请帮我用分词 ving or ed 造一个句子，做分词构句。Would that be okay? 用分词构句来造句，我们用形容词的用法。For example, Joe is the teacher doing the live streaming right now. OK? 那我用的是 ing 是主动嘛 I want you to practice writing one sentence with the participle construction. 我们来练习用一个 ing 跟 ed 的句子。好，写在你的 chat box 好不好？我们给大家1分钟。Can you write it? 然后我们请 Alex 老师来看你们的句子 whether your sentence is correct or not. OK? 请用分词构句的用法 and then make a sentence. Please type it. 请帮我打字。我接下来会讲更多重点哦，哈 ，Don't forget， 因为我研究大考、指考很多年了 ，so if you don't pay attention, you may not ace the test. So you better listen to us, OK? 好。So Joe is the one hosting the event, right?
Yep, that's the one you just said.
That's right. Joe is the one hosting event. 我们再请大家练习一下 using ing and ed. 如果你都没有造句 you will get into some trouble. Okay, Alex, we got one sentence here. Surprised by news, blah, blah, blah.
This is not using the present perfect, but we have another one. Turning to the right, you'll find the part. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good if you're giving directions.
Yeah.
That's good. The one that's surprised by news, of course, that's the ed, but we're asking for the ing right now.
No,
yeah,
both.
That's okay.
Both are okay. Both are okay.
Oh, both are okay. Yeah. So surprised by the news. Yeah. Surprised by the news.
Yeah. Surprised by the news. Lisa Lee.
I'm one of those attending this streaming. Yep, that's good. This live streaming or this live streaming event. Good job.
Yeah.
Well done.
希望大家可以写哈 If you write, that means you can use them in your, writing later on. It's not just listening to Joe. Okay. TMU, what's your question? TMU, you raised your hand. Do you have any question? Yeah.
They left. They left the meeting. Press the wrong button.
Later on. Yeah. Eric, I'm the one preparing for, I'm the one preparing
Who
for
is?
the exam.
Yeah, so you can say I'm the one preparing for the exam. So who is preparing?
Yeah.
Or preparing for the exam? I am the one preparing for the exam.
Sure.
Seeing the teacher is coming, all the students, you need the verb, go quiet in a short time, go quiet.
That's right.
Those people lingering on the street should be punished during the pandemic. Good, that's a good one.
Yeah, Rui, you are good. Rejected by his classmate, he felt quite upset last weekend. It has a lot to do with turn down, get into the friend zone, or something like that.
That's a good example.
Okay. Now, everyone, 谢谢你，你要造句 so you can get it. 立言 good.
Yep, well done. That's a good one. Having been scolded by his mom for his low grades. Well done.
Everyone, sorry, you can. We need to come back for 文艺选填. Because of time, I'm gonna skip that. But this is also equally important. But I'm gonna skip that because of time limitation. I want to talk about the highlight of today. That is 篇章结构 for DRE. 因为只考这个是最重要的. This is super important for DRE. It's right here. 篇章记住 5 out of 6. 5 out of 6. 记住6个里面选5个. Okay? It has a lot to do with coherence. Coherent 通常是段落里面的主题段落。Okay? 主题要连贯。So you will have我们就有主题连贯，那你就会有所谓的主题句、支持句 supporting details, right? 主题句、支持句 and details 细节跟细节的关联 supporting details and supporting details they are correlated 它们的关联，还有主题句跟结论句的关联 don't forget they are important. OK， 等一下我们会看用去年的Gladiator 那篇文章来看，那 cohesion 就是我们刚才讲的文法 grammar 有没有连贯？是不是用代名词来取代什么 the former, the latter, it, this, referencing， 或者像所谓的 lexical cohesion 词汇有没有连贯？这些都很重要。那我们记住篇章结构考的就是这两个 ，OK？ So you better double check this. 那我们来看一下 the following one, so you understand what I mean. 好 ，Before we start， 我们在选答案之前 ，Before we start, we want to talk about gladiator. Gladiator. So, it's about gladiator. So, Alex, can you help me read the sentences from "They were armed"? Can you help me read it? Go.
They were armed with deadly weapons, and in most cases fought till either one of them accepted defeat or was killed.
And can you continue? Roman
people enjoyed the sight of blood and violent death. They crowded into the arenas to watch gladiator games, just like we watch football, baseball, and tennis matches today. Can we keep going? Hello? Can you hear me? Joe, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm back.
No worries. Joe?
Yeah.
Did you drop out for a minute there? Your connection?
Yeah, no worries. Because this is the radio website. Okay, this is the radio Wi-Fi. Yeah.
Okay.
有没有注意到各位？这个都是所谓的 they were armed and they fought. 然后 Roman people enjoy. 直到有人被杀，好，然后 Roman people enjoy the sight， 看到，所以是看到，很喜欢哦，看到。So what about the context？ 它的上下文是 they saw this kind of violent, you know, scenes or something。所以大家看一下，哪个跟所谓的看到、喜欢有关 ？Which one is about enjoying this? Which one? E。那各位，请你留言 ，Why do we choose E? E 哪个字可以让我们看到的是他们很喜欢、很享受的关联 ？Can you tell me？ 这边有一个 fought, armed, and they enjoy the sight of blood and violent death. E 的哪个单字、哪个字词是一种可以 give us a hint to find out the answer. So that's why we choose this answer.
Yes, everyone seems to have the right. Entertainment is the key. Enjoy the sight.
因为大家不要忘了 enjoy the sight means what? Entertainment, a kind of amusement, right? 一种娱乐。所以大家有没有注意到，这叫做 lexical cohesion, 词汇连贯 lexical cohesion. Alex 老师也喜欢这样的一个分析。然后注意哦，接下来是所谓的主题句 topic sentences. 主题句 topic sentences. So, Alex, can you help me read the supporting sentences so we can guess what are the topic sentences?
Yeah, some were slaves bought from different lands under Roman control, and some were prisoners of war. Most of the others were volunteers, a group which once accounted for half of all gladiators. The majority of the gladiators were Thracians, Gauls, and Africans.
Okay, thank you, Alex. Sorry. 所以大家有没有注意到这边讲的是什么 ？Where are the gladiators from? The sources. 他们到底是从哪里来的？有没有注意到 ？Where are they from? Bought from different lands, were volunteers, and then majority of the gladiators were blah 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 Africans, blah blah. 到这边 Where are they from? So you can see 这边哪个跟 origins 是有关联的，跟 sources 是有关联的。OK, which one? 这个就是主题句嘛，然后后面叫做支持句嘛 ，right? Supporting details, right? 所以请问是 A 还是 B 啊 ？Why can't we choose B？ 为什么不能选 B 啊 ？Which one causes the problem？ 这两个主题句 What's wrong？ 为什么要选 A 不能选 B？Why？ Can you leave your message in the chat box？ 哪两个字让我们不能选 B？Why can't we choose B？ 来，请留言 ，Please leave your message here。为什么不能选 B 啊 ？Why can't we choose B？ Oh, yeah, Burst Strike says something. Kevin says something. 我们后面有 where they are from, right? Where they are from, right? Very exact answers.
Yep, most people have said the right words, obscure and mysterious.
That's right, because
so
if we have, Alex, if we have this as the topic sentence, so that means later on, what will the following paragraph be like?
Has to explain that we don't know where they came from.
That's
so
right.
Obscure means we can't see clearly, we don't know for sure. But then it says in the sentences, the supporting sentences, it actually tells you where they're from, gives examples, explains. So that's why it can't be B.
OK， 所以不可能是 B 吧？因为 obscure, mysterious。如果你看到这样的一个主题句，那后面就要讲的是 obscure, not clear, not apparent, not obvious, right？ 很好，谢谢。But 那后面的because of time， 因为时间，我们再跳到这个 ，OK？ 所以刚刚我们看到这个叫做主题句 topic sentence， 主题句讲这个 topic sentence，and then the following sentences are supposed to be used to support the topic sentence， 跟你们写英文作文一样哦。But what about this one？ 那这边呢？这边为什么要选这个答案呢 ？Let's take a look at this right here. Okay, so Alex, would you like to help me read this? 这是最难的哈，只考这一格是2分哦，不是1分哦，是2分哦。所以如果我建议你们写很慢的同学，我会建议你先写单字，再写篇章结构，再写翻译阅读测验、翻译跟作文，再最后回到 close 跟文音选填，因为单字很简单。篇章结构、阅读测验2分 ，2 points 2分。那作文跟翻译是只要有写就有分数 ，as long as you don't leave a blank, you will get grade， 你一定会拿到分数。所以如果你们放弃了篇章结构，很多人都没有时间写完篇章结构跟阅读测验 ，because you start from the beginning, vocabulary, clause, fill in the blanks, and you get into some trouble, right? OK， 好，那 Alex 老师 ，Can you help me read this? Roman historians.
Roman historians, sometimes called gladiators, hordearii, a Latin term which means barley eaters in English. chemical analyses of the bones found in a gladiator graveyard indicated that the typical food eaten by gladiators was wheat, barley, and beans.
Okay, can we stop right here? Thank you. 有没有注意到这边有一个主题句 Roman historians called blah blah blah, a Latin term which means barley eaters. Okay, 吃麦者 in English. Blank. Okay, 吃麦的人 blank. Chemical analysis of the bones. 有没有注意到这些单字都跟什么研究有关系 ？Analysis, historians. 好 ，Why do we choose C here? 为什么这里要选 C 呀？为什么就这边要选 C? This name, barley eater, was likely literal. 都是字义上的意思，也就是说。Gladiator 这个字指的就是 barley eater， 字义上它就叫做 barley eater。请问我们哪一个地方看得出来我们要选的是 C？Can you tell me? Literal, yeah, research, good. Research, literal, good. Finding, good. Finding. 但为什么不能选 D 啊 ？Evidence that also means findings, right? 那为什么不能选 D 呢？因为不要忘了后面讲的是食物 ，food eaten by gladiators was wheat, barley, OK, 麦、大麦 ，beans， 所以是有关联的，对不对？都是 lexical cohesion。可是如果是 C，do we talk about females？ 有讲到女性加入吗 ？No， 完全没有关联。Got it?
Importantly, it has two parts. It's not just research. A lot of people have typed research. Some people have said literal, but it's research and its name. Because in the first part, it says they called gladiators, right? Called gladiators. So called gladiators, and the answer, it says this name. This is pronouns, as we said before. So the recent research is the chemical analyses. Then the previous sentence, so it connects to the previous and the following sentence. Sentence that says Roman historians sometimes called. That's the second part of the answer. It says this name was likely literal. And then chemical analyses, that connects to the first part, recent research findings. Okay, so it's two parts. It connects to both the sentence before and the sentence after.
That's right. 那不要忘了，刚刚 Alex 老师有讲到了 sentences before or sentences after， 所以你看到 before 跟 after。注意看这句话 wheat, barley, beans， 然后后面呢，注意哦，那这句话 F， 他们吃的都是 wheat, barley 跟 beans， 那 F 要选的是什么？为什么这个要填的是 F 啊？为什么这个要填的是 F？ There was little sign of meat, dairy product， 这两个有什么关联啊 ？Why are they correlated？ 为什么这两个有关联 ？Why？Can you write down why in the chat box? Diet 是 diet 没有错，但是为什么 ？Product
Diet's not quite enough. Yeah, you need a little bit more than diet.
可能不是吧？不要忘了，都是麦、barley 跟 bean 这些好像都是蔬菜类，对不对？所以有没有肉啊 ？Do we have meat? Yes, very good.
Plant-heavy diet.
Good. So we don't have enough meat here, right? So F 才会说 there was little sign of. Alex, what is there was little sign of? What does that mean?
They couldn't find evidence, or they were unable to see much. So little sign means they didn't find it, or that they couldn't see the evidence of it.
They couldn't see any evidence, 所以没办法看到任何的证据。Did you see that? There was little sign means there was little evidence. E-V-I-D-E-N-C-E. There was little evidence. Okay? 再提醒大家一遍。Let me show you the pictures right here. Okay. Hamburger writing. I have to say that one more time, again and again. Hamburger writing, not for eating, but it's for hamburger writing. 各位，在你在写作或阅读篇章的时候，记住你的文章一定要用的，你的文章跟你的架构跟阅读的时候一定要长这样，叫做 hamburger writing. Okay, let me show this to you again. 你一定要有主题句 topic sentence in your reading， 你的篇章里面要有 topic sentence，got it？ 然后你的 topic sentence 后面要有 supporting details， 要有细节，也就是说你的 supporting details 是跟什么有关？是不是跟篇章？我们谈的是 gladiators 的来源，来源有很多种，所以后面都要讲来源。那最后一段 gladiators 的名字的 name， 它的意思是讲 barley eater 吃大麦的人，所以后面都要跟 eating barley vegetables they should be correlated， 是要跟 plant-based diet right？ 然后后面 Alex 老师又讲的是几乎讲的都不是跟 meat 有关，你有没有看？这是有主题句、支词句，最后有连贯的。指考的不是过多的单字 ，it has a lot to do with how you integrate your reading，how you integrate your reading。其实重点是你的阅读的关联有没有关系 ？Did you get it？ 这上下文要有connection， it should be connected。OK， 好，目前为止在篇章 ，Do you have any question? Please leave your message here。篇章你们还有没有什么问题 ？Can you write down your question in Chinese or in English, or you can leave your question here. Okay. I will answer the 2 questions here later. Now, do you have any question for 篇章？你们篇章有没有什么问题呢？ Can you leave a question here? Because I need to move on to reading comprehension. 好 So we'll move on to reading comprehension. If you got any question, you can ask me anytime, okay? So right now, I want you to read this reading. Okay. 怎么找关键字？欣婷 asked us how to find keywords. 关键字 okay? So would you like to say something for keywords? How do you find keywords? Alex.
Keywords are the ones you mentioned earlier, the productive words, the words that are used and not necessarily the words that are connecting ideas, but it's one that express ideas. So sometimes it would be the nouns and the verbs of the sentences, or as we said earlier, the connective language and the transition signals as well. It depends on the sentence, depends on the question. Keyword is a very general term, but usually keywords are the words that carry the meaning of the sentence, or they connect the sentence meaning to another sentence, the rest of the paragraph. Okay, so keywords are not usually supporting details because supporting details will demonstrate the main idea. But in a sentence, usually the keywords are the main functional words, and they can be nouns and verbs. And then if you're looking for keywords in relation to the connection between sentences, it might not just be nouns and verbs, it might also be those adverbs and the phrases we talked about, the transition signals that connect.
Sure. 所以大家可以看到我画下来的，像这个我要选 A， I want to choose A， 可是我选的会是可能是从 from different lands. Okay, and then most of the others were, and then they accounted for 他们占有 the majority of them， 我就知道的是他谈的都是来源 they're about the sources， 所以这就是我找的关键字，也就是说你的关键字要跟你的主题有关系 so don't forget if the topic 有一年的指考谈的那个主题 topic is about eccentric people 疯狂的人 eccentric people 好我帮大家有一年的指考 it's about eccentric people然后里面的单字都会跟 crazy, freak out, or freaky, or go nuts, go crazy, go nuts, go crazy, go bananas, particular 很特别 peculiar, and don't forget weird, odd, okay, bizarre. 你回去找指考这篇文章，still 2 years ago， 2到3年前的指考，里面讲的都是讲怪人 eccentric， 这样是篇章结构哦。记住，那里面的内容，这就是他们的关键字 ，they are related。这个就是I always keep talking about this， 叫做 lexical cohesion。你的关键字可以透过这样子来找到，这样你的上下文就可以找到论点。每一个段都有自己的连贯性，不是只是死背单字 ，always memorizing vocabulary one by one， 那个是要小心的。OK， 好，那我们先进到下一个。OK。新璇说要不要先选关键字再看文章？我的建议是可以 A B C D E F， 有没有注意到？注意哦，哈 ，A 跟 B 很明显是相反的 ，were recruited from。B 讲的是 obscure 模糊 mysterious。C 跟 D 讲的是 the name was literal 是有字义上的意思。D 指的就是。Females join gladiator contest， 可是 E 跟有没有注意到 C 跟 D 就是相反的，然后 E 讲的是 entertainment， 你就把它画下来嘛，然后 F 讲的是 sign of meat and dairy，little sign of meat and dairy products， 你就把这些字圈起来，这个就可以帮助你快速阅读，但重点还是阅读。OK，what matters is still reading，but you can do it， 但是要快一点，因为我们真的没有那么多时间，指考试只有 only 80 minutes， 80分钟 ，only 80 minutes，OK？、好，那我们来请大家帮我看一下这篇文章。我们要谈的是阅读测验，但是有很多人问我 ，How do you read fast？OK？、那指考跟学测一样，有后面这6种大问题，必考的6种问题，必考的6种。Reading comprehension question 必考哦，所以你一定会看到这些题目。老师都帮你整理好了 ，I already helped you organize those questions。可是我现在请大家帮我快速看过这篇文章，我代表 OK 这篇文章。那等一下呢，我要问大家的问题会是根据我们里面的 Number 1 main idea，Number 2 details，Number 3关于 organization。Number 4 context clues。Okay. Number 5 inferences 推论 and the last one will be attitude, tone, and advice sources。你一定要在做题目之前，一定要有这些东西在你的脑袋里面，不要碰到了再了解。No， 你本来做阅读就要有这些想法。Let me say it again: main idea, purpose, thesis statement。主旨 ，Number 2 details 细节 ，Number 3 order 组织 organization 一定会考，只考一定会考1题到2题 organization。接下来是 context clue 猜字义 ，context clue 猜那个代名词指的是什么意思 ，and 这都是2分哦 ，be careful 2分哦 ，2 points，they are very important。然后还有所谓的我们的inferences 推论，还有最后是 attitude。Tone, opinion, and also sources advice。好，我们请大家给大家2到3分钟快速看过这篇文章。等一下我会问 Alex 老师这个问题。好，我会问 Alex 老师这篇文章在讲什么，然后我也希望你们的答案是对的。Will that be okay? So Alex, later I will test you with some reading comprehension questions.
Okay, I'll just be back in a moment. I'll just go to the bathroom.
No problem. 请大家赶快帮我读这篇文章，你只能2到3分钟哦。这是指考的考古题 ，a long time ago。 One more minute.不要查单字 ，Don't check any dictionary. All right. Here's my first question. What is the best title of the passage? What is the best title of the passage? 你觉得这篇文章的标题是什么？ Can you write down your answer? What's the best title of the passage? 你写得出来，你就选得出来。What's the best title of this passage? Queen Victoria's career? Anything else? What is the title of this passage? 这一段 The reason why the queen is serious? Victoria's life? That's a good one. Victoria's life. Very good. But I heard somebody talking about the Victorian age. If you just say the Victorian age, 所谓维多利亚的时代，如果这是标题，那后面讲的都是 Victorian age, Victorian age. 可是翔哲跟其中一个同学 ，you mentioned something for your topic sentence. 你们的主题句已经讲很清楚了。Queen Victoria was a stern and serious woman. She was very serious. Queen Victoria was known as a very serious woman. So that's why this is the title of the passage. The title is about why the woman was very serious, right? 所以这个就是我们的文意已经理解了。If you just wrote, 如果你们刚刚讲的叫做 the Victorian age, 或像 Benson, the Great Queen Victoria, 可能都会离题咯。It's not related to the topic. 因为标题应该是跟 Why Queen Victoria was stern and very serious. 所以你们在选 title 是要小心。And main ideas. The main idea, it's not about the Victorian age. The main idea has a lot to do with why she was serious and stern. OK, 那我想问大家，这个 What is the purpose of the writing? 这篇文章的目的是什么？ What is the writer's purpose? What is the author's purpose? To inform or introduce 还是介绍什么 To inform or introduce or to persuade 说服你什么 or convince or entertain 娱乐 absolutely not or explain 解释 OK 解释什么 explain what 新伟 explain what Kevin, if you want to talk about inform, introduce, you have to talk about what? Explain, inform, introduce. They are related, right? 都是有关联的。Explain what? 指考不是都会考这一题吗 What is the purpose? Yes, 新伟 you're right. Explain why Victoria is serious. Very good. Okay. Why? Okay, very good. Explain why Victoria is so serious, is so stern, right? Good. So double check. OK， 那再问大家这个问题。OK，5 W's and 1 H， 这太简单了 ，Everyone knows that 我就不讲了哈。I want to ask this question. Alex, can you help me take a look at this again? How is this passage developed? A, in a chronological order. B, in the order of space. And C, in the order of importance. So, or D, by comparison and contrast. So how is this passage organized? 很多人都已经其实已经看到一些答案了哈。How? 玛丽妍 you said A. So what is chronological order, Alex?
It's to do with time.
That's right.
It develops with time.
不要忘了哦，指考一定会考一题这种哦哈。Time. Can you give me some time references from here? How do we know this is about time? Do we have any?
So first, yeah, everyone can see the dates, the obvious ones, aren't they? The dates where it talks about the year she was born, the year she became monarch. Monarch means queen. And then her age, also the year that her husband died, how long they were married for, 21 years, and wore her dress black for 40 years. So you can see that even in the next one, it says even before. So it goes back to the previous part. So you can see the term chronological. There's a question from Burst Strike.
Yeah, chronological. Okay, some people say, why not choose the order of importance? 为什么不是重要性？来，问得很好。Some people ask a very good question. Why is it chronological order? 不是按照重要性。来，我们来讲什么叫重要性。Good question. 这就是好问题哈。Very good question. 来 ，order of time means chronological order. Chronological order or linear order, linear or even linear order, right? Linear time, right? But be careful. Why not order of importance? Order of importance means you will see what? Look at me. You will see, to begin with, furthermore, above all, or most importantly. You will see those transition words or those verbs, okay, that shows this is important. The first argument is important. The second argument is important, but the most important is the last one. Okay, 最后一个是最重要的。So you can see right here. 为什么不能选 order of importance? Because we don't put the paragraphs in the order of importance. 我们并没有按照它的重要性的论点一个一个排。Did you understand? Can you understand? Burst strike. 可以了解吗? Okay, burst strike. Got it? Okay, yeah, thank you. And here comes another question. 来下一个问题哦，哈。But don't forget, sometimes the reading is like this. 这个要注意哈。Sometimes it's like, how does the author begin the passage? Or how does the author conclude the passage? 结尾 conclude the passage, okay? 是啊 even before the prince's death. 请问它有转折词叫做 most importantly 吗 ？Burst strike. Even before 还是时间嘛？它还是时间嘛 ？Before means what? 时间。Order of importance 通常会用在什么？论说文、说明文。Okay, so you can say something like, why is English so important? To begin with, furthermore, most important of all, right? Okay? 先写 burst death， 然后说甚至在它之前，所以我们谈的是一种 order 这样时间顺序，甚至叫做 flashback。OK，flashback 也就是回溯那个时间。新璇讲了 Albert's death， 然后再讲 before's death， 有按照时间吗？那你知不知道时间顺序？新璇，你知不知道时间顺序？你知道了，这就是 chronological order。你知道了顺序，包括回溯过去，这个都叫做 order of time。Got it？ 这种都叫
time order.
That's right.
It doesn't have to be in the same order it happened. It can go backwards as well, and they can change the order. It's the points are introduced according to time.
That's
so
right.
when they happen, and they may be in the same order that they happen, but it doesn't mean that they only talk about 1, 2, 3, 4. They might say 1, 2, and then go back to a point before 1 to 0
Sure.
to say, like they did in this task as well.
That's right. 所以不要忘了，你们一定会搞混。我知道这个很重要 ，but you always have the problem with this. OK， 所以不要搞混了。那像这个 ，How is the passage organized? Cause and effect. Sequence of time means time. Comparison and contrast. You need to use transition words. 就要用转折词，还有 verbs 动词 and then nouns. OK, to answer this. OK, now let's move on. 那这个是去年指考的新的题目哦，新的题目哦。This is a new one. If the following sentences were to be included in the passage, which paragraph should they go to? This is like our discourse structure. 这跟篇章结构有关。假如那一段讲的是关于 portfolio assessment 档案评量，我们后面讲的都是 portfolio assessment。所以这一段去年没有很多人拿到高分。Why is that? Lots of people don't do well in this test item. 因为你们没有篇章的概念。这一段讲的是 keep a learning portfolio， 也就是档案评量，然后可以展现出学生的能力、进步跟成就。So in the previous topic sentence， 所以前一句就要讲的就是 portfolio 档案，所以那个主题句就要出来。OK。
And also very important is it says one good example is that. So this is discussing an example of something that's come before. You need to find where it's demonstrating the point, the example that demonstrates. So it's for instance, for example, one good example is, so that's another way of giving details and explaining. So it must come after where they've explained what the portfolio is. A learning portfolio is an example of one way of showing the effort, the progress, the achievements,
Sure.
the area of the course.
所以不要忘了，这是举例 ，for example, for instance。所以举例前面一定要什么主题句嘛 ？OK，don't forget about this。不要忘了哦。Hamburger writing again， 有没有注意到我们的汉堡？之前汉堡写作后面的 supporting sentences，they are all examples。OK，got it？ 很多人告诉我说there's something wrong with your writings. 你们的作文都会有问题。It has a lot to do with your supporting details. 后面一定要有 examples, explanations 解释 evidence 证据 experts opinion 4 E's. Let me say that again. Example 第一个 E 当支持句 Number 2 evidence 证据 E. And then experts opinion 专家的意见，这是另外一个 E， 所以还记得吗 ？Example, evidence, and also experts' opinion and explanation， 还有解释，这些都是最重要的。They are very, very important. OK， 很多你们都没有注意到，但这些都是你要注意的。OK， now, and then this one context clue， 这个拆单字大家都会了。It's very simple. We deal with this before. Inferred means use your background and the text evidence to 推论 infer. Alex, can you help me infer? What can be inferred from this paragraph? What can be inferred from Queen Victoria? What can be inferred from Queen Victoria? 各位，你们可以告诉我吗？你可以从这篇文章当中，你可以推论出 What can be inferred from Queen Victoria? 你们可不可以写一下 in your chat box? What can be inferred? 推论出，记住哦，是文本找不到的答案哦。You cannot locate it. You cannot find it in the evidence. 你只能透过一点点 text evidence 跟你的 background knowledge 来推测 文本里面没有的东西 ，OK？ She deeply loves her husband. Good. Okay, I love it. She deeply loves her husband, right?
Lived more than 60 years.
这会不会直接就读得出来了 ？OK。但是我们可以推论出 ，She Victoria loved Prince Albert badly. OK， 因为这里有一个 mourn his loss, right？ 他一辈子都在 mourn his loss, right? Very good. 跳跳 ，She's strict with herself. I know. 但我刚刚很喜欢刚刚那个推论 ，She loved her husband because for the rest of her life, the lonely Victoria mourned his loss. Okay, mourn means feel sad about, right? Feel depressed about something. Do you remember? 很明显的 ，this is a good inference. Inference 再提醒一遍，你的背景知识跟文本的 text evidence to find something new from the reading. Okay, find something new for the reading. Okay, 好。
So in the last part, you can, Joe, just in the last part, you can also infer something about her behavior.
That's right. What is her behavior?
If you go back to here, because often the infer questions will come at the end of the passage or at the end of the paragraphs. Because it's where the test wants you to infer the author's opinion or the author's position. So someone said the author respects the Queen. So in this case, we see also at the very last line, it says, she was also very sure of herself. She always thought that she was right and she expected everyone to agree with her. Okay, so an inference question might ask about the opposite, which is, did she welcome other people's opinions? Or was she open to new ideas? And you can almost certainly say, no, she didn't, right? You can infer that because it says she thought she was right. She expected everyone should agree with her and she was sure of herself. So in other words, she wasn't someone who welcomed new ideas. She wasn't someone who was open to new changes, for example. And also more advanced language could be that she was very conservative, right? If we talk about
she's very conservative.
Talk about her behavior and her outlook, you can infer this because of the way the author has written the last part of the last paragraph.
Okay, so this is what we are talking about right here. Tell me your answer. What is the tone of this passage? 这段的 tone and the writer's attitude is what? A, objective or neutral, 中性. Or B, suspicious, very skeptical, 很怀疑的, very critical. Or C, admiring, respectful. Or D, pessimistic, very negative. So what is the attitude? What is the attitude? Can you tell me what is the attitude? A, objective. B, suspicious. C, admiring. D, pessimistic. 你觉得这篇文章是
So this is like we talked about earlier when we talk about positive versus negative, right? Because you can decide on those answers very quickly. You can choose to eliminate or get rid of some of the answers very quickly when you know that, is it a negative article? And most cases, most of it is not negative. It's not saying all negative. It says many things positive about her as well. So you have to be careful not to fall for it just because at the end she said she was right and she expected everyone to agree with her. That's like in this case, it's consolation. It's where they talked about many things about her positive, strong sense of duty, very hard worker, and she never forgot. She acted with great dignity, high ideals, moral standards. Right? These are all positive things. And then the last sentence, and the end it is simply consolation. Right? So we don't want a negative because there's only really one negative there, in the sense that the last part is a consolation. Consolation is saying that, or conciliatory is saying that we've talked about so many positive things, but we're not going to say only positive.
That's
but
right.
We say one negative to balance, a little bit of balance.
So do you think it is objective? It is neutral?
Yeah, of course. It's giving facts about her. It's giving facts about her, and it does say that she never forgot she was and acted with great dignity. This starts sounding like it's subjective, but it also gives the balance between positive and negative, because it says it made her seem stuffy and she was sure of herself. So we've got positive
有时候会
compared
让
to
他变
negative.
得很负面 stuffy, right? 很不喜欢嘛。但是有时候他是有高标准的 right? So 然后又 very serious 又很负面，所以有负面也有正面，所以 Alex 老师就会觉得他看不出来这个作者 shows strong admiration. If you choose admiring means, wow, I really love Queen Victoria. Queen Victoria is one of a kind. Queen Victoria is one of the most, blah, 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 persons in the world, or one of the most, blah, 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 or admirable persons in the world, and we should hold her in high esteem. 没有那么多的倾泻的一种正面的语言出现，但它都是正反两面都有谈到。所以
So that's why we look at C and D. Like D is very negative and C is very positive, right? So in this case, you can see that those two are not the best answers in the sense, if we're talking about it from the perspective of the author, we're not just talking about Queen Victoria herself. So admiring might give lots and lots of different achievements or things that are positive, and pessimistic would focus on the negatives. But this tries for a balance as more objective with facts supporting information. Facts is key.
新璇, you asked a good question. Now, why not choose serious? Because serious, is it a good word or bad word? 但不要忘了 serious, 你讲的那个 serious 的意思是做事很负责任. She's serious about her job. 但这里的 serious 是他做人很严肃 because we see the word stern, 很过度严肃 and very lonely, okay? 并不代表它可以是很好的严肃，也可以是不好的严肃哈。So both word meanings are used here. 所以这里正面反面的意义都出现了，所以 that's why it's neutral or objective, 而并没有完全的说它很糟 derogatory and horrible and super or obsessively, strict with people or harsh on people. 它并没有用到 harsh 那种单字 ，OK？ 所以并没有，所以 so that's why here it's okay. 所以我们为什么认为还是属于 objective? All right. 所以大家记住哦，这种考题。那再来 ，Where does this passage most likely appear? 文章会在哪里出现 ？This is very simple. Okay, maybe some history textbooks or history magazines, right? Or maybe Wikipedia or something. Okay, 但绝对不会是在 Reader's Digest or Chicken Soup for the Soul 心灵鸡汤，应该不会读到这种文章吧 ？Right? 所以这个要记住。Okay, now 因为我们还有差不多半个小时的时间，我想要多讲一点叫翻译跟写作的东西。翻译在我们开始之前 ，everyone。我们有这2题翻译，我要请大家帮我练习看看。这是去年的翻译 ，This is the translation for last year。请帮我加入这个地方，来帮我加入哦哈。Come in here，OK，来这边有一个连结，来连结 ，join here， 请加入这个连结 ，Padlet，join this one，Padlet，and then you will come here， 然后你们就会在这边 ，Help me join the Padlet。每个人都写看看 ，Everyone try to write it. Use your words. 然后帮我写你的答案。What is your translation for sentence 1? What is your translation for sentence 2? 我们来练习看看。And Alex will give you feedback later. And Alex 老师来当场帮你改 from native speakers intuition. OK? 大家都要加入哦。Right here, 这边有一个连结 ，click it, and then join the link.And come to Padlet, and then you write down the translation. 注意时态 ，pay attention to the tense. 记住，翻译的重点是 the meaning should be right, and use right words. Even though you don't know the specific words, you can use your words to make yourself understood. 重点是要把意义表达到，哈，不要用大字 ，don't use big words. 好，我们给大家2 minutes. Can we try this? 而且我等一下看到逗点，我就会看到有文法错误了哈 ，Don't forget。翻译就是会评量你的文法 ，so they are used to check up on your grammar. OK。好。Yeah. 先 help me go in here and then go help me join this 帮我加入这个连结 help me join this and help me do the translation here 帮我练习一下翻译 so I can know this you have to try this first Alex can you scroll down the Padlet the columns right here so you can see their translation
Okay, yeah, we can see it now.
Okay.
So most people have opted for early museums.
Mm-hmm.
Early could be first, as in the ones that came to begin with. But some people have said ancient, but ancient isn't really the meaning here if we talk about the history of. So I think people who've chosen ancient may be correct. And then, can't see who's written it, but.
Yeah, you can go over that and then give them some comments later on. Yeah.
And some people in the first one I can see is high class. Okay. Yeah, I see high class, but the meaning isn't necessarily, because we talk about classes of people, it would be upper classes or maybe upper middle classes. We talk
upper
about
middle class.
Yeah, so higher class wouldn't be suitable. High class as an adjective is not acceptable because it means if we talk about someone as like a luxury and we talk
Alex
about
老师讲解的时候，赶快先写下来。你写你的句子 ，Alex 老师会再讲解 ，Don't worry。他等一下再讲解 ，Don't worry。Yeah. Okay. So can we take a look at some of the sentences here?
So we've got another example where we have the third one. I can see it says museums in the early days were only open for upper classes. The visitors should be applied. Now, should be applied, that's the use of the passive tense. But that doesn't work here because it's what the visitors had to do. So they had to apply. So the visitors had to apply, not should be applied. So
Alex, can you help me take a look at this sentence right here? Yeah, this one. This one.
The one at the top?
No, the one that is at the top. The early museums. Can you help me correct this? 来，大家我们一起来看一下这个句子。Can we take a look at this translation together? Go.
Okay, I can't see it on Padlet. I can only see it on your screen. So I'll just look at your screen.
Okay, no problem.
So early museums were only open to the high class people. Okay, so as I said earlier, the high class people, this is not acceptable as an adjective, high class here. And some people have written upper class, and that's better. That's more suitable for this case. Or upper middle class.
Upper middle class 或者是 upper class. OK， 等一下我会把它写下来。Upper class 或者是 upper middle class. Upper, U-P-P-E-R. Continue on. Thank you.
And to apply for the admission. Okay, so you've got two uses of the article. So it's open to the high class people and the admission. Admission you spelled wrong, but the you don't need the repeated.
不用 the
没
有指定哦。
Yeah, because you're talking generally with a plural, you don't use the. So it's not the visitors, it's visitors. Visitors, it means all visitors.
All visitors, 我们没有指定。
Yeah, so you can just say and visitors. So you don't say the. Had to apply for, and again, the same with admission. You don't need to say the admission. Admission is spelled A-D-M-I-S-S-I-O-N, but no the for the visitors.
Visitors have to apply for entry. Visitors have to apply for admission. Be careful. 如果我们读下去 be careful. Did you see that? Had to had to. So this one, tense. 翻译的时候时态有没有注意到 ？Lots of you say must. Is it okay? Or who want to, have to. What's the tense used here?
Got to be the past tense because it's early times. It's something that's already passed. So early museums were only open. Were only open.
OK，
Yeah,
有没有注意到 were only open 只能开放给，所以这是过去式。So don't forget about the past tense. And had
so those first two examples were only open to. Were only open to.
And visitors who wanted to enter had to apply for admission in advance. 事先 in advance, no ed. 你们都会，这就是你们的文法错误。And be careful. 一定要写翻译。You must do translations. 这边早期的博物馆只开放给中上阶层2分，参观者必须事先申请进入许可2分，所以你有写就有分数，最低可以给到0.5分。If you don't write, you don't have any score. 所以一定要写。Okay, Alex, what's the past tense of must? Some people say, can we use must in the past?
Must is usually used for something that's now or in the future, present or future.
That's
so
right.
It's not used for this situation. You say they had to, or
So
they were
had
required to. If you want to use the passive voice, you could say they were required to. Visitors who wanted to enter were required to apply for. You can use much more complicated using passive voice, but I think that's better if you're able to use it.
Had to.
Had to.
Yeah, that's right. Or
were required to.
Or were required to. Were required to. Or you can say needed to.
Needed to.
That's right. But don't say must.
Don't say must.
Say must. Must is used in the future or the present tense. Okay? 还要记住，很多人没有连接词哦。You have to use and. Okay? Now, Alex, what about the sentence right here? 我们的第二句，记住，你们都是最常错的，都会是在哪个地方？这边又变时态是什么时态？现在式 present tense， 现在式。So what's the present tense here? Go.
So most people can, it's all online and they can, Are you looking at the same one at the top? So yeah, the first example is pretty good. You mean nowadays most people this one, right?
And they can explore. Don't forget, 享受探索文化珍宝的乐趣 can explore the culture and enjoy the moment. But what about cultural treasures? What about
There's
cultural
the
treasures?
idea of treasures, or if we talk about the cultural treasures, so there might be things found in a museum. So
that's right.
Yeah.
文化珍宝 you must say cultural treasures. Okay? You must talk about this. Okay? So, 然后这个地方我们来 go over 一下。Let's take a look at your sentences here. 有没有注意到 here 这位同学 many people can via 这不对哦，要先亲自动词，要动词 visit the exhibition in person or via checking online nowadays. 两个句子 this is the common problem. 我们看到中文这边是一个逗点，可是英文要用什么呢？ Conjunctions. You need to use and to connect two sentences. 霆锋 got it? 了解吗 ？OK, got it. Thank you. 看到这个逗点，英文只要有2个动词 two verbs, two adjectives, two sentences, you need to say and. 所以看到下面的 don't forget. 很多人都没有 and. You can see right here, no and right here. Okay? 所以请注意 pay attention to this. Okay? And also, 乐趣 don't say funny. Funny means a little bit like ridiculous or amusing. Okay?
It means you laugh at it.
That's
Whereas here is fun because it's something that's entertaining. Yeah. Fun versus funny.
Yeah, that's right. 所以不要忘了哦，翻译的时候，我们再回到我们的 PowerPoint. Pay attention right here. 这个要注意的就是 tense. 时态. Pay attention to how you change your tense. Number two. 记住这边2分 ，2 points， 这边2分，这边2分，这边2分，这边2分 ，Don't forget， 这边切一半，这边切一半，这边切一半，所以是 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1。So if you don't translate, you won't have any points. 所以一定要想办法 have some marks， 有一些分数 ，OK？ Got it？ 所以请注意一定要翻哈。And then I'm not done. OK， 好，记住时态，然后记住 pay attention to your usages， 记住一定要主词、动词、主词、动词 ，subject verb subject verb， 一定要主词、动词，然后连接词 and subject verb，don't forget。Okay, pay attention to this. 注意连接词 ，pay attention to 连接词。Sometimes you need to use when, if, blah blah blah. Be careful. 然后不要用很难的句型，因为大考不会考那些很难的句型，什么 no sooner than, usually as long as, okay, would rather than, no, prefer. A to B, something like that. Okay, don't use difficult words, okay? Use the words you can handle. 只要可翻，你就可以。像乐趣 fun. Explore, you don't know explore. Discover the fun of. Maybe that's okay. Okay? So don't use difficult words. Okay? 不要用难的单字哦。Okay. Right now, let's take a look at the following one right here. 接下来我们来看翻译。Let's check up on the writings. Okay? 作文。For the writings, let's take a look at writings right here, the most important one. 作文，我们今天的只剩24分钟。The most important one is topic-based writing. 主题式写作 we already talked about this in 学测. So it's very simple. But the most difficult one is this one. This one, this one. Bar graph, bar graph. Lisa, you say 乐趣 can we say interest? Interest 是你的兴趣，不是 fun， 所以不一样 OK 好，我们今天要谈的是图表写作。那我们请 Alex 老师来讲，因为 Alex 老师是雅思的考官，跟雅思在改英文作文的，出国的时候一定要考。第一个 Task 1 就是 Graph Writing。那这边有个 Graph Writing， 这个叫做所谓的 Bar Graph，Bar Graph， OK Bar Graph。And this one, pie chart, pie chart, pie, pie. And this is what we call line graph, line graph, line graph. 那我们记住哦，大考 when it comes to writing 英文写作，注意它的第一段一定会叫你描述图表的特别现象或现象。描述图表有没有注意到？再注意哦 ，pay attention。描述图表，指出特别的关注度较高跟较低 ，like this one, pie chart 哪个最受欢迎 ？This one 哪个最受欢迎？哪个最不受欢迎 ？OK, right here 哪个最极端 ？Right here, right here 大部分都会是这个东西 ，OK， 所以请大家注意，大考要让你。描述图表一定谈的是最极端跟就是最高或最低或最特别，或者是你可以简单的先描述以后再讲最极端的东西。第二段通常就是你的主题式写作 Why do you care about something? Why do you not care about something? 有没有注意到？或者是你有没有注意到你个人的分配跟别人有什么不同？你个人的分配。The second paragraph, it's all about you, your own opinion, your own opinion. 你个人的意见 your own opinion. 好，那注意，第一段一定是描述图表，错最多的 is always this one, graph writing. Okay? So Alex, would you like to share your screen or you can talk about this and I will write?
Yeah, sure. So we can look at the first one. That one there is the bar graph, the bar chart. So graph and chart. Now, the sentences that you just deleted are the beginning of sentences. You can use that to introduce generally before you start saying the specific numbers. So if you say things like the chart provides some data or this bar chart shows or presents or depicts. So these are useful verbs that you use to
请大家把它写下来
introduce.
shows, presents, go on.
Depicts, and you can use phrases like provides information about.
Provides information about. 各位把它写下来哦。Please write that down. Thank you. It is so important.
Say a general sentence to introduce what you have before you say the specific numbers. So if we look at the data, you can see that it's about, sometimes you do a little bit of math, you can see that this is a day in 24 hours. If you add the numbers up, it equals 24 hours. So it's what someone does in a day. So the average hours or amount of time. So we're going to say that if you look at the number of hours, you add them up, should total 24 hours. So once you've introduced and you say that the data or provides information about, and the activities, or you could say the tasks, you want to think of some different words you might use to explain it. And then you can say the person who does it, but if it doesn't show a person, it could be the average
American high school students. American high school students.
Yep, so the average American high school student.
Yeah, continue on. That's okay.
Yeah, and so for the information about, it can be the time. So the time allocated or the time spent.
Allocate,
so you can
pay,
put that.
or
Yeah, allocate or spend.
Or spend.
Yeah. S-P-E-N-D. Yeah.
所以有没有主题句 ？Alex 老师把主题句先告诉你，这个就是图表写作要先有主题句 ，got it？ 一定要有主题句哈 ，got it？
So we need, yeah. So the time, just to put, sorry, Joe, in there it says provide information about the amount of time that the average American student spends doing activities and tasks each day, and you can give an overall summary sentence if you want. If you want to talk about the amount of time that is the most obvious. So if you look at the chart, you can see the most obvious one straight away. The most amount of time is spent on sleeping. So you might want to say that generally speaking, or overall, or it is clear that. So you're talking about, this is the most obvious part. So earlier we talked about order of importance. You can use order of importance to introduce some of your ideas in your sentences, and you can do it in reverse order, or you can say the most important first. So overall, it is clear that most of the time is spent, or most of the time is allocated to sleeping.
好，各位，我们一起跟着 Alex 老师写哦。你看到，人家是一个考官，写一个好的英文作文是怎么样？先写一个 summary 主题句，然后接下来讲 overall， 这个是我们只考的作文哦。好 ，overall it is clear that 最多的，因为我们要讲的是最多的嘛，最多最少的嘛。OK。So
that's importance, the most important, or this one that occupies the most time. So you could say that
the activity,
sleeping occupies, or the activity, yeah, that's right, the activity that occupies.
That occupies, 也就是占有，很多人不会这个单字哦，请大家写下来 occupies.
Or takes up, you can say, occupies or takes up, and then the most, because we're, or most of the time in the day.
In the day. 然后把大家画下来，这个就是你的写作，你有没有逻辑咯？哈，来把它画起来，背下来。Remember this. Okay, continue on. Is sleeping.
Is sleeping, and you can say the amount. Of course, you say is sleeping with 8.7 hours or at 8.7 hours.
Blah blah blah.
Yeah, and so the numbers, and then what you might do is you could rank them. So you can say the second and third together. For example, you could say after that or following that or then. So you want to use the transition signals we talked about earlier. After that or following that. Yeah, following that or Next, you can use the time transition as well. And when you talk about studying, followed by
You mean
socializing, and yep, followed, yep. If we say the amount of time, so you say following that, studying, and you can say along with.
Along with, 接着
Yeah. Now, importantly, I want everyone to take notice of the tense because we're not using the past tense here. We're using the present tense in describing it. Because this is, if it's the average, it's not something that happened before. It's something that usually happens or is always happening. We use the present. However, if it was an example of something from the past, like we'll see a little bit later, Joe, if you just go to the line graph, the line chart.
这边如果是 line
so you can see here, yeah, the line graph, the line chart. Notice how there's 1975, 1980, those years. This means that we use the past tense to describe the figures and the facts.
如果是 line graph, 我们就是用 past tense, 就是用过去式咯。
Yeah, some bar charts will have time. You need to look at it carefully to think, does it have, this one has time, but it doesn't have time gone in the past or past time. So we use present to describe it. So the pie chart, if you just look at the pie chart quickly, you can see it's the same. It's facts right now. It's about how things are. So if it's an average or
所以说平均的嘛 average.
Yeah. Yeah, or the results of a survey, these kinds of things, often favorite types of movies, these are going to be present simple tense.
That's right. So can we continue and finish this for our viewers as well? 各位，如果你图表有写有问题，要同时要问哦 ，because it is so important right here. 所以 Alex 老师刚刚再讲一遍 ，Number one， 先讲主题句 ，topic sentence。Topic sentence, OK. 接下来讲第一点 ，overall it is clear that, OK, the first one, 也就是最多的。After that, following that, studying joined by learning related activities, OK. So it should be studying, OK.
Yeah, and you can also say the time.
Socializing.
So when you say the time, there's two ways to present it. You can say studying, and then in brackets, you can say the amount of time. So you could say studying or learning related activities, and in brackets, you can put 6.4 hours.
Yeah.
Right. And important, of course, it is hours, plural, because there's more than one in the number. But you could also say, as I mentioned earlier, you could say with socializing or social activities, as Joe's written. And then you could say at or occupying or taking up. So this is what we said earlier.
Occupying, taking up.
Yep, or taking up. Or simply at, because it's the preposition that would fit as well. And then the number of hours. How many hours?
Yeah.
There's a question about hook in the introduction paragraph.
庭中我们等一下再问好不好？我们先把它写完 Let's finish it, and then later we'll talk about hook, okay?
Right, so you don't need one sentence per number. That's important. Maybe the most important one you can put, like we said, that sleeping takes up 1 hour, or it's number one, so it takes up 8.7 hours. Now you don't have to say the number as well, because you might say instead of 8 hours, you could say over a quarter. Right, so these are different ways you can express the same thing. So for expressing sleeping, that's 8, right? How much is in a year? It's actually a third, right? So in a day, 24-hour period, it's a third. So we can say over a third, because 3/8 are 24, right? So you can say over a third. And for quarter, you could say for studying activities. Sorry, yeah, you did have it right there. So for studying activities, you can say it's over a quarter. So you don't have to use the numbers as they're written. If you can use fractions and percentages, that's also a way of explaining these numbers.
比例的方式或分数的方式 fraction 分数的方式来呈现 So Alex, can you give me the second sentence for this, for the argument, so our students will understand? After that, following that, studying along with social activities.
Yeah, that take up, and then the number of hours. So we could say, following that, studying, and you can say at 6.4 hours. So following that, study.
Along with social activities.
Yeah, so say studying and the number, but first you say studying
6
or 6.4 hours.
Hours.
Yeah, 6.4 hours.
Along with social activities.
Social activities, 3.8 hours.
Okay, 3.8 hours. Go on.
Yeah, and we would say that make up, so this is an amount, you can add them together. So
组成了 make up.
Or make up, and then the amount is over 9 hours or
Over 9 hours.
of a
Over
day.
10, yeah, over 9 hours.
Yeah, and you could also say almost 10 hours. So it's
even.
just, I'm just saying different ways you can say it. Yeah,
10 hours.
almost 10 hours.
有没有注意到？再提醒一遍，主题句第一个最重要的，接下来没次重要的 ，OK？ And then what about
And
the
then
one that is
You
always
might join the remaining ones because you say the remainder.
Yeah.
The remainder or
the remainder
the
剩下的
remaining activities. Yeah, so
the
the
remaining
remainder.
activities。注意哦，剩下的 we say the remaining activities, the remainders. Can we say the rest of them?
Yep, the rest of the activities, the remaining activities.
记住，你可以把它背下来哈。You can remember them. 你可以把它背下来哈。You can remember them. Okay. Go on.
Account for. You could say
Account
account for.
好，这边再停一下。Account for means take up, occupy. OK， 不要用什么 stand, hold 都不对哦。Take up, occupy, account for 是占比例。Alex 老师帮你写了第一段哈。Continue on.
And then the total is less than 6 hours, so less than a quarter. Or less than a quarter. Yeah.
Okay.
Less than a quarter of the day, or less than a quarter of an American student's time.
Or
in the day.
An American student's time in a day.
Yeah, and yeah, of course you can, as I said, if you want to say the numbers, you put the numbers with the activities. So you can, if you have time, you can put a list of some of the activities. You could say including other activities with 2.6 hours and part-time work, 1.5 hours, exercising and voluntary work, 1 hour together, or total 1 hour. So you can add more details. If you have more time, you put more details.
如果你有时间的话，你可以加入这种 including. For example, 多少 Don't forget about this. Okay, this is about bar graph. So this is what we can do in the first paragraph, right? In the first paragraph. 那第二段当然这是最简单的了，我们最擅长的了。For me, my schedule is not like American students' schedule. And then what do you usually do most? And what do you usually focus on most? 你最常做的是什么？因为是异同嘛，最常做的是什么？然后 for example, you study more, you don't sleep more, right? You study more. 那你最常做的如果是 study, 那你就把 study 讲出来。然后为什么 study a lot or take up most of the time in Taiwan? 然后最少做的是义工 and 宗教。
The key that Joe is saying here is that in the second paragraph, you still need to connect it to the graph. Sure. Like you can't just talk about what you do in a day. You have to say how it's different or how it's similar. So you want to make that connection. You want to say that my day is very different to an American student's day. And then you can say because, or for example, and then you can use the connective language and you can then join the points. So you can say, whereas, if you're making a contrast, you can say, whereas American students get a lot of sleep. I personally don't have much time, etc., etc. So you can make a comparison. You say, I only get about 6 hours sleep. And you may make a comparison between two. So you want to still mention and make a comparison, make a contrast in this type of task where you're saying how your day is different.
You can say
or similar. Yeah.
So it's up to you. If you say my timetable is totally different from American students' timetable or post apart, 完全不一样。我的建议啦 Alex, maybe you're right. You can talk about similar, but if you want to write something that is similar, and then you don't have enough time to talk about something in details, 所以我会建议，如果你多写一点异的话，会比较容易 because you can keep talking about what is the difference between yours and American students. 那如果是 Alex 老师说 similar, okay, is similar to, it's okay. 那在哪方面很 similar? 做了哪些？但这里
find similarities and differences. Yeah, you don't have to just contrast everything. You can say that there's some big differences, but there are also some similarities. Like I said before, the conciliatory or consolation, where you say that there are many differences or mostly differences. However, so you can use the contrast in that way, rather than just saying totally different.
因为这里讲的是异同，异同 means what? Similarities and differences. 所以你要谈到 similarities and differences. Got it? OK, 好，那 what about this? 我们在最后的10分钟再谈一下这个。What about this?
Well, I think for the pie chart, it's quite similar to the bar chart we just looked at. So maybe just to think about, again, you talk about order of importance. So you're going to focus on romance versus action, then comedy and sci-fi. If you have similar numbers, talk about them at the same time. So comedy and sci-fi.
So comedy and sci-fi.
They have the same number. So you would talk about them together. Of course, you talk about romance first. Yeah. So romance, then action, then comedy and sci-fi, and then drama.
And drama
it's a little bit similar, the structure to talking about the bar chart. But the line graph, that's different because the line graph is where we said before, if it has a time, right, on the x-axis, you see that you must talk about it chronological order to make sense.
好，我这边插嘴一下 ，sorry. You must use the chronological order. 你要用时间顺序来讲这种 line graph， 而且你要描述它的 trend to describe the trend 趋势。所以你有没有看到这边是上次，而且要讲时间哦，1975年到1980年，1980年到1990年，然后是上升、平缓、上升、平缓、下降。那有哪些动词 verbs or phrases or idioms we can use to describe the trends of a line graph?
Yeah, importantly though, you have to remember that in the pie chart and in the bar chart, there is no time trend. Do not use comparison contrast language for time changes, because in this one, in the bar chart and the pie chart, there's no time over change or change over time. But this one, the line graph, the line chart, it has changes over time. So this is where you must talk about the language of changing. You still use comparison, you still use contrast. So you still talk about similarities, you still talk about differences. However, you have to use it in changes over time as well. All right, so the language of, I'm sure you're all familiar with words like the rise, increase, went up. These are all simple verbs.
Rise, but increase,
go up. And if you want to talk about more where it carries the meaning of a big increase, like rocket or shoot up.
Rocket, shoot up. 都是上升的意思。Okay, soar.
S-O-A-R. And if we would talk about, for example, pizza, right? That's a very clear example where the number of times eaten per year.
Pizza.
Yeah, eating pizza hamburgers. Hamburgers is the best example of rocketing and shooting up. Hamburgers soared, the numbers soared.
The number soars.
Yeah, so the number soared. You still have to say the number, the amount. But remember, you need to change these to past tense, right? So rose, increased, went up, rocketed, shot up. So what we're teaching you here is the present tense, but when you use it, you're going to have to use it in the past tense because the language inside the graph is describing what happened in that year. So if you were to say between 1975 and 1985, right, and it says consumption. So you can use, we talked about earlier, the present participle form is the eating of, right? The eating of, the consumption of hamburgers shot up because it is past tense. It becomes shot up. Grew, right? And rose is, you need to remember that this changed. And of course, we're at the same time talking about something similar. So we talk about similarities first. Pizza also saw, so likewise, similarly, right? You would talk about a similar trend. So pizza, and you might introduce with a transition signal. Similarly, likewise, right? Because we're talking about how pizza and hamburgers both rose in the first part of the period up until 1995,
Sure.
right? So you can compare these together.
Alex, sorry. 我这边再提醒大家一遍，这两个 Alex 老师说，在比较 ，it's not like this one pie chart or bar graphs， 比较没有时间。这两个在谈趋势的时候 ，don't forget you need to use the past tense， 然后用一些趋势的改变的动词，但不要忘了 Alex 老师要提醒你们哦，这边是强调的这两个先讲 similarities 相似，因为都是上升嘛 ，rocketing。Okay, growing, shooting up, right? Soaring, increasing, rising, on the increase, right?
And then, then moving on to the contrast. So fish and chips is the contrast. So you talk about the similarities together in this one because it's clear that two of the trends share. So we use the language of similarly, likewise. But then we want to move to the differences. So we're going to contrast. We're going to use the language. However, on the other hand, in contrast, and this is where we say fish and chips. So we describe the contrast in the data. We talk about how so using the language there is decreased, went down. And we can use more specific language for example, 1985 to 2000. You might say plummeted, right? Plummet is to free fall.
So go down. Let me write it down, and then decrease.
Go down becomes went down, yeah.
And then fall, fell, and then plummet. Plummet, 只考单字 going down. Okay?
Yep.
Plummeted.
Plummeted, yeah. And dropped. And
dropped.
Yeah. So you're using language to describe the changes over time. Yeah. And it would become past tense. So drop becomes dropped. Decrease becomes decreased, and then you say the number. So if it went down, so for the first part from 1975, so here's the sentence structure is from to or between and. You don't use those mixed together. So you say declined from 100 times per year to, and then it's about 88 times per year. Otherwise, you say it plummeted between, and then you can say the years as well. So when we say from and to, we can say from 1975 to 1980. We can also say between 1975 and 1980, right? But you can also say that for the numbers. It fell from 100 times per year to about 85 times per year, or we can say it fell between. Yeah. Okay. So you can use these as expressions for saying the amount of time.
And then, Alex, what about these things? What about the two lines right here? It looks to me that they stay the same. So how do you describe the trend of staying the same? Do we say something like level off?
Remain the same. So the period when it changes from rising to staying the same. Stay the same, remain the same, did not change. Yep. Did not change.
What about level off? Do we use level off?
Yeah, level off as a phrasal verb usually means the change from going up or going down to becoming the same. So you wouldn't say it leveled off for the rest of the period. You'd say it leveled off in, and I'm looking at the years there, 1995. I can see it clearly. So it leveled off, right? So you would say that when we talk about it. Now, if we talk about for fish and chips, the red line, you can see it fluctuated in the first 10 years. Fluctuate means to go up and down. So it fell, then it rose. So it wasn't a constant trend. So fluctuate.
这个叫做 fluctuate， 上升上上下下 ，go up and down, go up and down.
Yeah, fluctuated. And the noun. So remember, we're using the verbs here, but you can also use the noun. So you can say there was a period of fluctuations.
That's right.
Right? Or there was a period when it fluctuated. So you can use the noun fluctuation. Likewise, you can say there was a rise or there was a fall. Right?
Sure.
You can use a lot of these verbs as nouns and nouns as verbs. You don't have to keep saying it rose, it fell. You can say there was a rise. So when you use the noun, you need to use the be verb.
Sure.
There was a rise or there was a fall from and to or between and.
Alex, can I show my students something? For example, 大考中心作文评量标准 If you go here and then you still use the old curriculum, 不要忘了你们用的还是107年的那个评论。Okay, it's right here, right here. Double check this. 我为什么要给大家看 ？Alex 老师刚才讲的是你们的结构。你说单字很重要，文法对我来说不是太重要，但是你的文法句型有没有变化？ For example, Alex just said you don't just use verbs all the time. 你有没有变成名词 ？There was a fall. There was a period of fluctuation. There was a decrease. 而不是一直说 it fell down, it declined, it blah blah blah. 你有没有注意到这个就是5到4分？内容要好，内容有没有说清楚？组织有没有逻辑？内容大考中心的教授们都会先看内容，再看组织，不是先看文法跟单字。So what matters is your content and organization. However, 有没有注意到，常常你的作文只拿到10分、12分，因为你只有内容跟组织。But if you want to have a higher score, you can vary your structure and also have, or maybe show your variety in your wording or diction. 用字可不可以有一点点变化，但是是正确的用字。Don't forget, this is a common mistake, or this is the thing you don't pay attention to, you attend to.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so this is the same point. You don't just keep saying verb, verb, verb. You can say verb or you can say noun. So there was a rise or it rose. But to improve your sentences even more, you want to then use those words that modify, that change. So instead of saying there was a rise, you can say there was a huge rise. There was an enormous rise. So you use adjective with noun if you're using the noun. There was a massive fall. Right, if you're using the noun. So that was the subject. In this case, we use there, it, right? But when we change to the verb form, instead of using adjectives, we use adverbs, right? So usually the structure for graphs, we would say that the numbers fell rapidly, right? Or it decreased quickly, right? So it plummeted massively. We use the adverb form. So adjectives with nouns, and when you use the verb form, you use verb plus the adverb. Okay, so just be aware that this is one way you can increase the variety of language that you use in your description. You can use the adjective with the noun form, the sentence, or you can say the verb with the adverb. That's another way of structuring it.
有没有注意到 Alex 老师讲的？我都帮你们打上去了。Did you see that? There was enormous rise. There was a blah blah blah. 但重点是要 factual， 而不是 don't be a drama queen when it comes to describing charts or tables or diagrams 图表。
Has to be accurate. Yeah,
that's right. Because this is a fact. 好，最后要跟大家 say goodbye 之前 ，OK? Because Alex still has classes later on. 再提醒大家一遍，作文主题写作，这是去年的写作 ，very common. Top subject, topic sentences, supporting details, conclusion， 有主题句、支持句、结论句。Eric 不用担心，你可以先问问题，先问。我只是快速讲解。然后完了以后呢，在图表写作一定要先讲。Eric 先问问题先讲你的 overview， 先讲你的主题句，接下来再讲什么呢？支持句。第一个 overall, it is clear that after that, following that, and for the rest of them, the rest of them, the remaining activities， 然后用的是现在式描述。Pie chart 也是一样，那记住占多少的数字 percentage 或者是 fraction 分数 1/3， 不要忘了你的动词是 take up, account for, occupy。Alex just mentioned that, right? 那最后 ，OK， 最后在图表的写作，如果是趋势图，你要有这样的一个描述 ，OK， 关于上升、下降 ，plateau。Stay the same, level off， 或者是动词跟名词的变化，句构有没有变化 ？That'll be okay. Alex, we got a question right here. What about can we say in a nutshell for the conclusion?
You can, but it's usually used when you're writing an opinion essay, like if you're talking about. Yeah, it's not as common for formal language describing charts.
That's right.
It's
Eric,
not wrong,
in a nutshell, 这里不会 describing chart. Alex 老师讲的是 formal writing， 特别是在讲 opinion， 表达你的意见，在这边。So you will show your opinion here, right? 有没有注意到？第二段 you can say in a nutshell, I really like or I'm really fascinated by the news about blah blah blah, like entertainment news, so on and so forth. 你才会说 in a nutshell, in conclusion, in short. Got it? 大家懂我意思吗？ Okay. I think Alex, thank you so much for joining us right here. Alex, I think you can exit first because you have better prepared. I will just stay online for the rest of them because they still have some questions. Okay?
Okay, no problem.
谢谢。
All right.
大家先跟 Alex 老师 say goodbye 好不好？谢谢。
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Good
Take
luck.
care. See
Hope
you.
you do
Bye
well in
bye.
the exam. See you.
Okay. Bye bye. 那我来回答新璇的问题好吗？好，来，谢谢哈。新璇 got a good question here。他说，数据后面要提出自己推测的原因吗？还是要写精确的数字，然后只写出哪个最高？不要讲推测的原因。再提醒一遍，图表写作不要有推测的原因，除非你有证据 ，unless you have evidence。你要写的就像 Alex 老师写的这样，因为你根本不知道美国人为什么做这件事情。How do you know？ 你的推测只可以是什么时候呢？你现在讲自己的时候 ，you can have your own assumption。但是在讲数据的时候，有没有注意到特殊的现象？而且它用的是什么动词？来自什么动词？描述，描述 ，describe。所以没有要你讲推测的 your assumption。如果他有说，请解释为什么这样的原因，你在写推测，新璇懂吗 ？OK。Got it? Please be careful. 不要乱写哦，哈。Got it? OK. 最后给大家问问题。5 more minutes. Do you have any question? 谢谢你们还在 staying online. Thank you so much. Do you have any other question? 有没有什么问题想要问老师的 ？You can ask me question. 那这边 this one right here, you still have some question. 记住这个是最重要的，你要记住。Content, structure, they are equally important. And then for grammar, sentence pattern, and spelling, vocabulary, they come in second place. 所以重点是内容一定要好 ，OK？ 好，那这边有人问问题哦，哈，来，要看完整篇文章吗？还是看空格上下文就好？好，然后这边有一个先解决这个问题 ，It's very simple。对，直播会被保留 ，Don't worry, it's in YouTube。可以啊 ，Bird Strike 可以用括号啊 ，No problem。Bird Strike， 刚刚你讲的，你为什么 Alex 老师会用？因为他是专门在做这样的 formal writing， 当然是可以的。为什么我们不可以？是我们很多老师都不知道，括号是不可以的。OK。 立言 that is not important。OK， 然后我们来看一下，北模跟全模做完了怎么办？来看一下大考中心，来看一下大考中心这边，注意看哦 ，Come here， 指考这边有历届试题，有没有看到 ？Okay, right here， 历届试题，指考 right here， 历届试题这边进去。好，一般试题进去。好 ，English right here。你可以慢慢做题目，从109年补考，包括补考哦，去年补考也有哦 ，Don't forget to 民国91年的题目。所以如果你10年指考写完了 ，you can go here。Got it？ 可以吗？好，有没有问题 ？Got it？ 这边你都可以有那么多题目可以做，所以千万不要说 I don't have enough time。然后再提醒大家一遍。是不是看完整篇文章还是空格上下文？记住，你还是要了解 topic, sentence, supporting details and conclusion。OK， 所以你还是要练习。OK， 新选说没有解析耶，没有解析没有关系，你先做手感。现在已经还有40天，可以先练手感。And ask your teachers， 你可以问你们的英文老师问题嘛 ？OK，you can ask your English teacher some questions, right? OK, you can ask questions。OK, you can ask your teacher some questions. OK， 那要不要做模考题？模考题 ，Corinne， 不要再浪费时间了。模考题很多题目很烂的 ，horrible questions. OK， 然后你会心里会沮丧，所以我的建议就是做大考中心的题目，到民国91年都做过一遍。Corinne，if you want to do， 那你的历届20年都做完了吗？109。到民国91年 ，Are you done, Corinne? If you're done， 如果你做完了，你再问我。如果没有做完，10年做完了，那有做到民国91年了吗？没有嘛，对不对 ？Right, Corinne？ 看荧幕 ，Right？ 所以你可以做了嘛，对不对？那91年到108年都做了，那你就可以做，里面有补考题。来 ，Eric， 大陆高考可以做吗？不要做，里面题目很多不好，不要乱做。OK。然后我的建议，现在 Eric 用做杂志的。如果真的要我推荐模拟考题，妙妙卷的模拟考，常春藤的模拟考，但不要做北模的或者是全模的模拟考，因为他们里面有些题目过难这样子。OK， 太老没关系，做的是手感 Corinne。OK， 你现在要做的是习惯，立言。历届跟模考，我现在讲的是你应该还有很多的常春藤跟所谓的常春藤，还有所谓的妙妙卷都有模考卷。Go there and then you will find a lot of exams。跟你们老师要有很多模考卷。如果真的要买模考的参考书的话 ，if you really want to, just go there。妙妙卷的或者是常春藤卷的比较好一点点。要不要2刷3刷？ Eric, my suggestion is, if you want to, go ahead. 如果要2刷3刷可以，但是重点只是把自己不懂的搞懂而已。That's all. 然后 Rui Qingwen 每天要不要写一篇作文？我认为2天到3天要写一篇作文。And then please check your time. Check your time. You can only have 20 minutes. to 25 minutes, OK？ 是的，历届作文跟常春藤或妙妙卷的题目作文就好了 ，because they are more correlated。直播影片也还会有吗 ？Yes, on YouTube, OK？ 会有 YouTube， 这个影片会在 YouTube 上面会看得到 ，so no worries， 不要担心，好吗？什么叫做英文90分以上？大概是什么概念 ？OK？90分以上 means right here. Okay, let me show you. Okay, like this. Let me use last year's exam as an example. Can you take a look at this? 这是去年的补考 right? Okay, right here. 疫情嘛，补考。This one. 90分以上就是前面大概都对 ，and then 作文大概可以拿到17、18分，翻译大概扣1、2分左右。That's all。那前面大概不能错太多。记住，如果你觉得你写不完 ，one more time vocabulary, discourse, reading comprehension, translation and writing， 先写。翻译跟作文一定要先写，因为你写就有分数，没写就没有分数。28分不要浪费了。Okay, got it? Okay, thank you so much. Do you have any other question? 然后 Zo 他说5分钟一篇，我会建议5分钟一篇，先看题目 Zojo， 先看题目，然后新伟问翻译要去哪里看，题本的都做完了。题目这边，题目只考的这边有翻译，妙妙卷、常春藤卷有很多翻译的题目，也请你去练习。我代表 OK， 新伟，翻译的字不会怎么办 ？Let's take a look at this right here。我刚刚不是讲了吗 ？Just like when you write a composition， 跟写作文一样。If you don't know， 你有没有注意到 ？OK， 进入许可，你看你不会用。Apply for admission, apply for entry. 秉宏，像我就会说 ask for permission to enter. 用 enter 这个字就可以了。那 Eric 作文现在是15、16分，要如何再上去 ？Eric 是你们老师改15、16分吗？如果你们老师改15、16分，大概就是17、18分了。OK， 我的建议是还要再记住哦 ，Eric 看一下。佳作，看一下佳作，看一下佳作哈。Let's， 我们看一下佳作，这是今年的佳作嘛 ，right？ 我随便挑一篇，记住 ，Eric， 前面1、2翻译。然后你后面有没有写到足够？千万不要写120个字哦。You must write more than 120， 一定要写到250 words， 250的单字。OK， 一定要超过。然后最好是写在背面，写到一半，然后有内容的写。OK，got it？ 这样你应该可以有17、18。In terms of content， 如果你已经可以拿到15、16分，内容就可以了。小猪猪大千，我建议立言用这样就好了。他已经叫你用 print， 就一般的字体写就可以了。用一般的字体写，就不要再用其他的写法或 word fonts。OK， 用一般的就可以了。Don't try to be special。OK， 什么叫做只考的单字跟片语？就是用字精确，不要国中小单字，可以用高中单字。小猪猪大千，什么叫高中单字 ？For example。你的句构不要再用 go down, decrease, plummet, drop, decline, between A and B, level of, blah blah blah， 会用这种句构可以改变 ，but you talk about the same thing, OK？ 但是不是用倒装句哦？用倒装句 cannot help you out。倒装句有时候一倒，上下文都会搞混了 ，OK？So please be careful。第一段不用写 conclusion， 不用写 conclusion。因为第一段是在描述图片，为什么要 conclusion？conclusion 只有在你写 opinion 的时候，在写你的个人意见的时候，才要有 conclusion。OK， got it？ 新伟有没有注意到这边叫你解关注度较高、关注度较低的类别 ？You don't need a conclusion in the first paragraph。第一段根本在描述，不需要 conclusion。OK， 只有第二段。说明原因、说明理由，这种属于 opinion 的，你就要有 conclusion。OK，gotcha，very good，thank you so much， 新伟。Jojo Zhang， 你的逻辑为什么怪？有办法改？当然有办法改啊！我们刚刚不是讲过了吗？你的逻辑有没有照这样子写 ？Jojo Zhang，tell me， 你刚刚有没有按照这样子写 ？Yes or no？ 如果你没有按照这个写，你就有逻辑有问题。你的逻辑一定是 topic sentence 主题句，第一个论点，第二个论点，第三个论点 ，like this one。 身为校园一份子，该采取哪个行为来保护校园安全？第一个论点 ，to begin with, furthermore, last but not least, and then in a nutshell, 总而言之 ，campus safety is everyone's responsibility and duty, blah blah blah. 然后你每一个论点后面都要有 example, okay, evidence, okay, and the explanation. Got it? 来，新选你的指考单字的7000单人的范围跟范围要去哪里找？我再提醒一遍，片语指考单字你们一定有单字书了 ，They already include vocabulary levels. However, 片语我再提醒一遍，一定要看课本的 words for production, words for recognition. OK? 结语不用每个都提到，但像刚刚 Alex 老师也没有每个提到啊。你有没有看到他用 the remaining activities account for？ 他其实并没有每个都提到。你看他有讲到运动、宗教、义工跟其他吗 ？No， 但他会用他会用剩下的活动占多少？因为图表描述就在讲描述数字 numbers digits，got it？ 所以结语。不是每个都要描述，但是重点，你看我剩下的我就用 the remaining activities, the remainder, the rest of the activities。我有讲到吗？没有吧？但是你看我占多少 ？Account for less than a quarter of a day. Okay. Any other question? Okay. Thank you so much for staying online, and say thank you to Joe, and then you will check up on the YouTube channel. 立言不是写的复杂就有水准哈，是写的有逻辑，要有主题句 ，topic sentence, supporting details, conclusion。你要记住你的作文有没有？不是复杂 ，it's not complex at all， 一点都不复杂哦，哈，加油了 ，everyone。That's all for today. Thank you so much. If you got any question, you can leave your message in YouTube. YouTube 里面还可以继续留言哈。We got a YouTube video. 我们有 YouTube 影片哦。Bye bye. Good luck. Bye bye. Take care. Bye bye. See you. Good luck. Wishing you all the best. Bye bye. Bye bye. See you. You can exit the room now. Bye bye. Take care. Thank you. Bye bye. Say thank you, Joe. Bye bye. Good luck. See you. Take care. Wishing you all the best. Bye bye. Take care. Bye bye. Bye bye. Good luck. See you. Bye bye. Take care. Wishing you all the best. 刚刚的翻译不能用 must, because must is for the present tense and future. 若恩 must 是用现在式。如果你过去的猜测 must have done something， 那是过去可能，但是你必须就是 must。过去式 had to or needed to. OK， 跳跳，拜拜 ，take care, see you. 所以洛恩 got it, must 的过去式 had to, needed to. Take care, bye bye. Bye bye, good luck. Bye bye, bye bye, good luck. Thank you so much, my pleasure. Oh, Aaron, thank you so much, but that is not important at all. What matters is your learning, Aaron. I care more about your learning than my haircut, all right? Take care, bye-bye. See you. Bye-bye. Wishing you all the best. Bye-bye, good luck. 林凯 BYE, take care. Bye-bye, bye-bye, see you, bye-bye, take care. I need to leave the call. Bye-bye, good luck. Take care, bye-bye. Exit now, you can exit now.